2016. Phyllis, could we have the roll call, please?
Mayor Clint Folsom.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Deborah Williams.
Here.
Trustees Joe Cervelli, Rita Dozell.
Here.
Elia Gagoras.
Here.
Chris Hansen.
Here.
Sandy Pennington.
Here.
Town Manager Matt Magby.
Here.
Town Attorney Kendra Carberry.
Here.
Town Clerk Phyllis Harden here.
Thank you. Next is the approval of the agenda. I have a motion to approve the agenda.
I move we approve the agenda.
Motion by Trustee Pennington, second by Trustee Gregoris. All those in favor? Passes unanimous. Thank you. Next is reports, questions, and issues. Who'd like to start?
I will.
Mayor Pro Tem Williams.
I do not have much to report. I did not have a First Fridays. I canceled that. I was out of town. But I will have one in May when we get there. I would like to add something to the retreat. A discussion about the open space and green belts in our town regarding grading and watering.
Okay.
And you know, where we'll go from there and how that discussion will go depends on each person's perspective.
Okay, thanks. Anything further?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Nothing further?
Trustee Gregoris.
Chris, did you want to go next? I'll go. I don't have
Okay.
much.
Trustee Hansen.
I do want to thank town staff, especially Patrick Hammer, Matt Rarick, and Tommy Frickin. Is that how you say his last name? Okay. They put a lot of effort into making sure that the field got done. I know the Williams field was extended because of weather and other issues, but they did put in a lot of extra time that helped salvage several games for local user groups. So thanks to them for all the hard work that they put in. We also had a resident last week that had some questions about El Dorado Park, and I told him that we would address it in this meeting. He couldn't be here. He wanted to be here tonight, but he's out of town. So I was hoping that the town attorney could at least say something that addresses the email that you sent to us, just for the public record, because Ken will look at it when he returns to town.
Sure. Just for background, the email was, one of the issues in the email was that the park hadn't followed the required process because notice was not provided to neighboring property owners. And my response was that the property was already zoned for the use to which we were putting it, and the town owned the property. So therefore, there was no application pending. The fact that the town did hold a number of community meetings was to receive community input, but I would call those are meetings, not public hearings, and that is the difference there. So that's why there was no written notice sent to adjacent property owners or property owners within a certain number of feet.
Okay. And then there was, Patrick Hammer did compile a lengthy list of all the meetings and the outreach that was done by ProStack and town staff over the last few years. So thanks to them for that, but that's also available if anybody needs to see that. Yeah. And that's all. Thanks.
Okay. Trustee Dozell.
I attended on April 4th, last Monday, I guess that was, the Rocky Flats Stewardship Council meeting, and Joe Cervelli is our regular representative on that, and he was there as well, but he's not here this evening. And attended that with Sandy, and I'm sure she'll have some comments about that as well. But there was a presentation by the Fish and Wildlife on the potential connection of the Greenway Trail through Rocky Flats. And there was significant discussion of the risks and the costs and the alternatives that might be considered. So I'll let Sandy talk more about that. And then on Tuesday morning, we also attended the Boulder County Commissioners meeting regarding the potential participation of FLAP grant, which we've even been asked, we too have been asked, and we'll be discussing this, I think, next meeting, or the 25th, yeah, the regular meeting, next meeting, the 25th of April. And that's a federal grant to provide the Greenway Trail, the Rocky Mountain Greenway Trail connection. And the proposal is that there would be this Greenway Trail that goes from the Rocky Mountain Arsenal by DIA all the way up to Rocky Mountain Park, National Park. And it is now being considered that it might go through Rocky Flats and connect to the Boulder County open space. That's behind our town here in the community trails. And there would have to be 2 underpasses under Highway 128. So there was a lot of discussion about that, and again, I'll let Sandy talk some more about that because she had public comment there. But the 2 important parts about that is that the Boulder County Commissioners are requiring a NEPA study if they would agree to participate in something like this. And I think that, and also that there should be consideration of an alternative route around Rocky Flats rather than just through it. So again, I'll let Sandy add more to that. I'm sure she has a lot more comments about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Pittington.
I'll actually start with the Traffic and Safety Committee meeting we had at 4:30 tonight. Ahead of this, Debbie Lee and I are on that committee. We had an interesting set of traffic numbers presented to us that will be at the retreat. So it does show the growth in, usage of some of our streets, and raises some policy issues, and then also accident patterns. Largely, we're pretty accident-free. We don't have a lot of accidents in this town. So that preceded this. And regarding the Rocky Flats Stewardship Council meeting, I think the biggest takeaway from the whole meeting is a better understanding of what the Stewardship Council does and what it, most importantly, cannot do. The onus is on local governments to go through their Congress people to attempt to get additional testing on the site. Lisa Morzell, City of Boulder, has served on the Stewardship Council and its predecessors for nearly 20 years, she says, and has asked for additional testing all the time, never gotten it, because it really must be through the local governments. So that's sort of rung in my ear. On April 25th, we're going to go through the issue of the Greenway in depth. The most important thing is it's in recent history, just in the past several months, that the connection was changed from around Rocky Flats to through Rocky Flats. Apparently, Fish and Wildlife came into some money that I think came from the DOE, if I'm correct, and that's sort of what led them to want to do those trails through. And so the attempt of many people concerned about safety is let's just restore it to the original route. Go ahead with the Greenway, but go around Rocky Flats. So I think that's what you're going to hear a lot about. And then I went to that meeting, and I also then appeared in front of the BOCO commissioners and urged them to consider the around, not through. I personally don't believe now is the time to ask for the additional testing. The Greenway is on a fast track. A large part of it's already been put in place, from the Arsenal all the way to Stanley Lake has been put into place. So it's on a fast track, and we don't have the time to consider a well-thought-out testing plan, nor to get that approved. So my hope would that we'd continue to go around, not through. And in that, if we do that, there's no need. The overpass on 128 that we're asked to fund is $4.3 million. The underpass on 128, there are 2 of them, one for the wildlife, one for the people, total of $4.3 million. So if we just take existing routes up Indiana and west on 128, not only do we avoid the potential plutonium contamination, but frankly, there's not a whole lot to request from the FLAP fund because of the FLAP grant, because we don't have to build that very expensive set of underpasses. Anyway, more on that on the 25th, but I was certainly glad that we, that there were representatives there that showed the other side of the potential trail.
And I think just to add that is if someone's interested, that would be the April 25th meeting here at 7 o'clock would be the time to come back and discuss or to
Right.
to
Well, and I
participate as
would
public.
also, Open Space is considering this in the meeting at 6:30 this Wednesday, and ProStack is considering the issue at its meeting at 7 p.m. the following Wednesday. So those are two other places to go if you're passionate about this topic. I wanted to say on the El Dorado School concern, not only did we have all those public meetings, but I actually personally went to all the homes surrounding the park and hand-delivered meeting notices. And I believe ProStack did as well, once or twice. So I didn't want to leave the impression that there were not public notices delivered to each door.
But there was also the boxes that were put around the community and refilled.
Right.
So there was considerable notice.
Yeah.
Okay, is that all? Trustee Pennington? Okay. I wanted to follow up on the Rocky Flats meeting and your comments to the county commissioners. There was an article that came out in the paper the day after that. I'm sure you saw that. And there was a statement made in there that said that the trail alignment is a deal breaker insofar as superior support is concerned. And it kind of made it sound like that our position's already been established.
No,
but-
read the whole quote. It said could be a deal breaker. It did not say will be.
is a potential deal breaker.
Is a potential deal breaker. That's the
Well-
reason for that potential. You want to know my reason for saying that?
I guess I'm a
Were you
little.
quoted accurately?
I was quoted accurately.
Okay.
yeah.
I guess I'm just a little concerned about making it sound like we have a position when we haven't had
Right.
a discussion and a
Rita's
decision.
my witness. She was at that same meeting. I said the board has not considered this and will do so on April 25th.
Okay.
So that was not in there.
That part
Yeah,
didn't
that
make
was
it in.
very, very clear for her entire 6 minutes that she spoke, was that
Was
this
a
was
selective quote.
a conversation
selective
about
quote.
Yeah,
what
they
we've
didn't do
been,
an
but not
archive.
that we have decided in any way, shape, or
Okay.
form. So,
Right.
Okay.
you know, and we can't control what little
Sure.
slice of heaven that they pick out of the sky and put on paper.
How'd they keep you to
Understand.
just 6 minutes?
I didn't even
ouch.
go 6 minutes, but Rita gave me her 3 minutes, and I
Yeah.
went part of the 3+3. I don't know how long it was.
No, you were right there, it was
Okay.
flashing
Almost
when you
6
got done.
minutes. But I did
Okay.
make clear, and have made clear, both to the Stewardship Council, that our board will not consider it until April 25th, that I was speaking solely as an individual.
Okay. Thank you. Trustee Guvers.
Attended the Superior Youth Council meeting last Wednesday. Actually, stand corrected. We didn't have quorum because all the kids had something to do in their high school, so we met on Thursday. And they're just preparing for Arbor Day and 4th of July, so that meeting went well. We had the Transportation and Safety Committee, and some of the highlights, I guess, from our meeting today. First of all, Sandy's right. The accidents here, knock on wood, are way down. I asked Alex specifically about the Divergent Diamond just after it was opened, all 3 lanes going, and he said we only had like 2 accidents, minor accidents. Somebody was texting and just bumped into the person in front. Like, so apparently that's working well, and that was our hope, that the Divergent Diamond will make it much safer to cross over. So that's good to hear that. A lot of discussion on the 88th Street options as the Zaharias property is going to be coming to fruition. How does Waldona Lane connect, participate, cut through traffic, and so on. So Alex gave us 3 or 4 options, but we're going to, or Alex at least is going to inform the community and have a couple of meetings, and hopefully one of them be here with us, at least with the Safety and Transportation Committee, to discuss the various options. So I'm glad you're doing that. And the other thing, as far as again, we had 2 diametrically opposed views from from public comment as far as Coal Creek is concerned, cut through here. one side wanted to maybe even close it on the weekends, not allow left-hand turns off McCaslin to cut through Coal Creek, and the other view, of course, was don't ever do that. So we still have residents of original town that have different points of view. Couple of questions for you, Matt. The Purple Park pump that's what's the status of that by those ponds?
Yeah, they've
been there for a while.
They're
They're getting close?
Yeah, I would say by the end of April it should be done and wrapped up. But we could start probably using for irrigation at the end of this week if we needed to. So
Okay.
but I don't think we will with the weather we're gonna potentially have. So, yeah.
And then the left-hand turn here that to Town Center, in your notes you said that's a temporary. Is that going to be connected to potentially Main Street or
Yeah,
no?
so it'll start by connecting to the temporary access road that goes through there. And then when Main Street's done, it'll connect to Main Street. Because we need to have access, alternate way to connect to Main Street while the roundabout or that intersection's being constructed this summer. So.
I see. Okay, got it.
And then once that's done, that temporary left will go away.
Oh, it will. Okay, got it. And then last but not least, last Saturday, my wife and I were going for a hike, and we went up to the bridge. We've never been up to the bridge that connects to a vista, and then kind of decided to keep on walking. Came down to Boulder Valley Ice, and I just looked in. I mean, it was locked, but Luke was there, so I just knocked on the door, and he let us in, and kind of gave us a tour, which I think we need as a board to have another tour, maybe sometime in May. It would be good. It is incredible the progress that they've made, and. You know, once again, I asked him if you had to do this all over again, what would you do differently? And he said 2 more sheets of ice, which is the first time I've heard him say 2. Yeah. Now, I know that's not realistic, and maybe that's something we can we can talk about in our retreat. Is there any, even physically room for maybe 1 more sheet of ice? Is that possible or no? Well, I just want to know. I just because you know what he said? 7,000 to 10,000 nights have been already reserved, hotel nights. Which is something else for us to consider.
Say that again?
7,000 to 10,000 nights, have been booked already for hotels
Where?
in the surrounding areas.
In the surrounding.
Which is one more reason for us to build our hotels here in Superior, so we can have all that income here, right? So it just so happened the United States Hockey something else commissioner was taking a tour he flew in here from Chicago. It's an amazing facility. And he said they're going to be open from 5 a.m. until 1 a.m., 20 hours a day, and they're booked. It's remarkable. So anyway, I think it's great news for our town.
Hockey is that popular?
Well, my wife asked that, is that a year-round sport? We all thought hockey was seasonal. He goes, no. They said we took 2 weeks off during spring break in March, but April 4th, which was, last week, we start again, and then we're going straight.
Yeah. And the indoor soccer field.
And the indoor
is
soccer
constantly
field
booked.
across,
Yeah.
is booked.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And Impact Sports is coming along.
Right.
Parking in Main Street need to be done.
But anyway, I think that's great news for our town. And initially, when we pushed this, we thought this would become perhaps a regional draw, maybe Denver, Boulder, for Collins, and then we expanded maybe a state draw. But it's becoming a national draw, and that's what his vision is. Anyway, great
It's
news.
impressive.
Yeah. So I don't know if we can talk about that if there's a possibility. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, on April 1st, I attended a Boulder County Care Connect Mayor's Day and Volunteer Recognition event in Longmont. Boulder County Care Connect is a group that connects senior citizens with across Boulder County with volunteers who help them out with transportation to and from doctor's appointments, home repairs, and all sorts of different things, snow removal, lawn care, all designed to help seniors stay independent in their own homes if they want to do so. And I'm having follow-up conversations with them to make sure that our residents here in Superior can take advantage of their services, and also get residents of Superior to be able to help with becoming in their volunteer network. So it's a great organization. On April 6th, I went to the Metro Mayor's Caucus, and they had selected me to give a presentation on our Diverging Diamond project to all of the metro area mayors, and it was very well received, and had several mayors come up and say that they were considering similar designs in their communities, and we're very impressed with it. We spent some time, the group also spent some time reviewing the Colorado Contractors Association's ballot initiative, which is possibly going to be on this fall's ballot to raise sales taxes statewide to fund transportation improvements statewide. But however, the Metro Mayor's Caucus group felt like that the ballot language did not meet the threshold that the metro area specifically needs for transit-related improvements, and there's been a lot of work prior to this date on establishing what levels of transit spending would be acceptable to the metro area, and this proposal just didn't even come close. So as a result, the Metro Mayor's Caucus is not going to be able to support their initiative. So it'll be interesting to see how that moves forward. The following day, went to the US 36 Mayors and Commissioners Coalition meeting, and there was discussion of our annual Washington, D.C. trip, which is this Wednesday through Friday. And the group also discussed this, the same ballot initiative that we discussed the day before, and the 36 mayors and commissioners also were in agreement that it was probably not something that that our corridor could support. So that's it for my announcements. That's it for my events. I'll do my announcements after we go through the next announcements. So, Town Manager.
So we have our meeting with Louisville City Council next week. I forwarded the agenda to you. It looked fine to me, but if you have something specific that you think would be good for the two boards to discuss, let me know. And I think I've got confirmation from everybody that they'll be there. So that was it.
Great. Thanks, Town Attorney.
I don't have anything, thank you.
Okay, Town Clerk. Okay, I'll go through a couple of upcoming events and announcements. Tomorrow, Tuesday, April 12th, 12 noon to 1 p.m. is our second annual State of Superior update. That's where myself and Town Manager Magley will be at the fire station community room and giving about 30 minutes of updates on what's going on in town and allowing for time for question and answers. And so we did the first one last year and it was well received, and we're looking forward to the second one. On Thursday, we've got a Superior resident that's going to be getting a nice award, and I wanted to bring this to everyone's attention. Comcast, our cable and internet provider, they are announcing a total of $78,000 in college scholarships to 60 Colorado high school seniors as part of their Leaders and Achievers Scholarship Program, which honors students for community service, academic performance, and leadership. 58 students will receive $1,000, and 2 students will receive a $10,000 scholarship, including Superior resident in Fairview High School, Suyog Soti. And Suyog is planning to attend the University of Colorado at Boulder to study computer science and applied math, and wants to develop innovative technologies to help change people's lives. The scholarship recipients are going to receive their award this Thursday at the Public Education and Business Coalition Luncheon in Denver. So congratulations to Suyog Soti. And Saturday, April 16th is Arbor Day, 10 a.m. to noon. Art contests and a lot of great details on our website, so check that out. Monday, the 11th of April we'll be back here a week from Monday for a special meeting, continuation of Town Center Plan Development Amendment number 3, and that's going to be 18th, April 18th, 6 p.m. next Monday. And Saturday, April 23rd, 7 p.m., Town Hall is the Historical Commission's Spring Education Program. We have a presenter presenting on the Broomfield Depot Museum. That depot is very similar to the train depot that was once in Superior, so should be an interesting program. On May 7th at 2 p.m., Historical Commission is going to do their annual walk around Superior, including the coal mine areas. So if you're new to town or if you've never gone on that, it's a great way to learn about the history of our town and the area. These tours are led by former residents. We've got a former resident of the coal mining village, and so that's great to hear his stories firsthand. May 20th, 21st, and 22nd is the Superior Morgul Bike Race, annual event that very big here in town, so we welcome that back for another weekend in May. June 6th is the target date for our call and ride service, RTD call and ride service to start. And reminder, the town's summer recreation guide is now online, and it was mailed out and looks like this. So check that out. It's got a lot of great events and volunteer opportunities and programs for our summer. So thanks for town staff for doing that.
And I think there's one event that you missed, unless we're not doing it, and it's the hazardous, or the household hazardous waste and hard to
you.
recycle collection event.
Yes.
April
thank you.
16th, 9 to noon at El Dorado K-8 in the parking lot.
Yes, same Saturday as Arbor Day. So thank you.
Yes, at the same time.
Same time?
Yep.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Okay. Move on now to public comment. If anyone would like to make public comment, just give a little wave and I'll signal you to come up. Come on up.
Gladys Forshey, 404 South 3rd Avenue. On March 14th, I was here regarding the intersection at the southwest corner of 2nd and Douglas. That scenario has not been corrected. Last week, there was a fiasco there. So we residents in the south end of town are asking you, Matt, for a on-site visit to discuss the problems with that intersection. Can we schedule a meeting?
What's the issue?
There are 5 of them relating to state statutes, the comprehensive plan, and everything. So we're wanting to know if we can get you down there to look at them and listen to us.
Yeah, just send me an email. We'll coordinate a date.
Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Additional public comment? Come on up.
Hello, Nikosha Hunninger, 3177 West Yarrow Circle. There's still little to no enforcement for off-leash dogs in the open space behind the South Pool in West Yarrow Circle. People continue using it as an off-leash dog park. They'll come back there, take the leashes off, let them run wherever they want to run. This huge open space is a major passageway for kids and families going to and from El Dorado K-8 school and the South Pool. This is a dangerous scenario. Animal control coming 1 to 2 times a week for 10 to 20 minutes during off-peak hours, giving only warnings, has done nothing. This problem isn't going to resolve itself since there are no penalties. Warnings are being ignored. More enforcement is needed, and penalties or tickets need to be given to ensure the safety of others.
Okay.
Can I
Thank
address
you.
that for a minute?
Thank you. Go
Yes,
ahead.
please.
So I spoke with Sergeant Lance. Yes,
Enholm.
thank you. Today, and he said it's really helpful for him if you have like a specific time and a specific day where there's higher volume, if you will, for him to
Okay.
send his deputies out. That helps. Otherwise, it's more of a generic, and they don't know when to come, so they might come in off hours. So,
Yes,
are
sir.
there some specific times?
He has those times.
He does?
They're just not coming at those times. He visited my house, so I know he has those times.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And
Just-
just for the record, they're in the morning, more like 7:30 to 10:30 a.m., and then probably like 3:30 to 7:30 p.m. But all during the day, you can go out there and pretty much see dogs running free at any time of the day, mostly. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Okay. There and
Tammy Katz, 2145 Kyoto Lane. Hi, I've been a resident of Superior for over 13 years. I love our community and its walk paths. It's one of the best things about this neighborhood. One of the things I noticed in the last Superior Sentinel was this article, 10 Reasons to Keep Your Dog on a Leash. First item was, it's the law. One of the things I wanted to note is this article was buried in the bottom of the Sentinel, and I'm not sure that everyone's getting the notice that it's the law. I think what I saw recently was a bunch of emails related to how to secure your trash cans in windy days, and I think that got better notice than this did. So to go along with the previous comments about enforcement, maybe a little bit more communication on awareness. If this town can consider putting an email out to help distribute this very nicely written article, I think that could help with some of the issues. Since it's become spring, I've gone out on frequent walks almost daily, and I live in a different neighborhood. I'm seeing people walking their dogs on the walk paths without leashes. I'm not feeling personally like I want to go to these people and correct them at every moment or necessarily stop my walk to call the police, but I certainly would like to at least put the notice out to my neighbors that this is a law and it would be very respectful if folks would follow it. It would really help build a little better community if I wasn't necessarily worried about encountering other people's dogs attacking me or other dogs on our walks. I just wanted to also know that we'd observed there's a lot of folks who wish that law would change, and I respect that. And I certainly hope that those folks who wish to do that would follow the proper procedures to get that law to change. But until then, I'm hopeful that they'll at least respect the law that's on the books today. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional public comment.
Alan Lembitz, 765 East Wiggins. I'm here as a poor substitute for my wife, who usually comes, Teresa Clark, to address you. I want to give you some thanks, first off. I think you've done about 5 or 6 meetings that I've at least watched for 4 hours on numerous subjects, and I really commend the thoughtfulness that you're putting into the Superior Town Center. Not want to repeat what you've already heard, but what I wanted to urge is that as you look and consider additional FDPs and PDPs on Superior Town Center, that the 31 residents would remind you to enforce the existing agreements, and that enforcing those existing agreements does not require you to make new or forthcoming concessions on new plans. And let me just state that a little more clearly. I'm kind of a big picture guy, and so I recognize that the buffer restoration is just a part of making the Superior Town Center the vision of what you want to do. And we all really want to move beyond it and fix the necessary PDPs and FDPs so that it can meet that vision. So 3 things about that that I see. Fixing the grading mistake as soon as possible is in everybody's best interest, and I know it's been agreed upon. I think, however, one must think that if it's a mistake and you restore it to that which it was, then it doesn't require any concessions on your part to say what would it have looked like, that you have to consider how is the new adjacent land going to do that. The applicant would have had to deal with how does his adjacent land plan match the existing buffer had that mistake not occurred. You don't need to make any concessions there. The 250-foot buffer in the annexation agreement does not require a concession. It can be part of the plan. And lastly, moving the road mistake does not require you to make any concessions on block 21 or 22. It's one thing to say, I've seen and observed an odd dynamic that as the applicant asks you to do something, enforcing existing agreements does not require on your part any concessions, and yet there's always this give and take, and then they guilt you into saying, well, because you didn't have a give and take, therefore I'm going to take my ball and do something else. I would urge you to resist that temptation and just enforce the agreements, move on, and so we can go forward. I think everybody's, obviously, yourselves included. So just in summary, thanks for looking out for our future. Really appreciate you all just looking at enforcing those agreements and making this place the vision for all those of us who live here. So thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional public comment? Any additional public comment? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, good evening. Mark Arbitrio spoke the last time to the board, and I just wanted to give you a quick update on what we had talked about the last time, and that's, if you remember, the mission really of a bunch of us here now is to try and make that open space that was discussed earlier a better place for everybody. And we had a very productive meeting with the Parks and Rec folks a week ago or so, and kind of they're helping us understand what the process is. And thank you for mentioning changing the actual ordinance, because that's one of the things that we are considering. In addition to that, we also have people volunteering to go out and do things like pick up extra poop and things of that nature for the folks that do like to use the trails with dogs. So I'm glad you're speaking with Lance. He'll probably give you some perspective, I think, on the reality of things that are going on. And I would also encourage you again, as I mentioned before, to walk the trails yourselves any day, any time, and you'll see what reality, judge for yourself, where the credibility and some of the situation is. So appreciate that, and if look for yourselves, and just wanted to give you that quick update. Yes, Sandy.
Could I make a request?
Yes.
You had a great engaged group here for that meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Until the law is changed, can we engage that group to spread the word that you got to keep your pets on leash? Because the law has not changed. Right. I think if you show good, if those users, I don't know your patterns,
mm-hmm.
if those users show good faith, that good faith will be returned. But meanwhile, they've got to keep their pets on leash because it is the law.
Okay, I'll pass that on to them. I mean, I can't do anything about it, of course, but I think I don't. I think you will probably see that there's very few people that actually have their dogs off leash, and it's not as has been described, I guess.
But I agree, it only takes one dog to scare the
Fair enough.
heck out of somebody.
Of course, and there's people with bikes, and there's rattlesnakes, and there's all reasons to be afraid of all kinds of different
We don't
things.
have laws against rattlesnakes.
No, that's
unleashed
fair
dog.
enough. Fair
Okay.
enough.
We should.
Okay. Yeah, well, I just wanted to give you the update. The Parks and Rec folks were very helpful and very accommodating. And so and we'll be talking to them more in the future. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Would our code enforcement person do any of that code enforcement?
I think it's better to come from the sheriff's office and animal control. So,
Okay, just a thought.
Yeah.
Okay, any additional public comment? Okay, with none, we'll move on to item number 10, presentations, Superior Chamber of Commerce update. Ms. Craycraft.
Good evening. Thank you. Just wanted to make sure you all, as residents, received our latest version of the directory that was just produced and mailed probably about the same time the rec guide went out. So wanted to say thank you for that opportunity. If anyone had not received it or wanted to look at it online, we do produce it as a flip book on our website, and there are always a few copies here kept at Town Hall. But along with that fun production we put on each year of putting together this publication, we love to share a little bit more about the Chamber and who makes up that group of businesses who really make an impact in our community. So this year, at this time of year, we're currently at 225 businesses. And these are the statistics that I think we find interesting and help us maybe guide how our economic development moves forward. But 32% of those have superior addresses. Of those 225 businesses. So 68% of our member businesses are outside of the town boundaries. And you might ask why. It's because we are a great community that they want to be part of. They want to obviously be the service that you choose. They want to be the, whatever you're looking for, the one that you either open the book or know that your neighbor will tell you about. Of those 68% that are outside of our town boundaries, 47% are in the wonderful city of Louisville, just over the bridge. And currently, of that same 68%, 25 of those business owners actually live here. So they might work outside of the town, but they do call this home and therefore have asked their businesses to become members. So just wanted to give you that update.
Heather, can I ask you a question? Oh, just go ahead, Mayor.
I would say another reason that those 68% are members of the Superior Chamber is because we have a great chamber and great leadership. And I think if businesses were not seeing value in being members of our chamber, they wouldn't do it just for the heck of it. So hats off to you and your team for what you do. I think for a town of 13,000 people, plus or minus, the fact that we've got such a robust chamber and we've got an awesome directory that goes out to all residents. We look like a town much bigger than we are, and it's very impressive. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
And thank you, Heather.
Thank
So
you.
I was going to ask you, the store right next to Costco, Party City or
Yes.
Central, or when does that open? When's their grand opening? Do you know?
I do not know, but I think they're in the works, I believe.
April 18th.
So it's coming.
Wow.
Oh, wow, great. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next on our agenda is item number 11, the consent agenda.
Are we spending? I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion by trustee Ugois, second by Tim Williams.
Is there any money here?
And you have a
Yeah.
construction
Yes.
contract here.
Yep.
Yes, so we.
That's right.
Gregoris?
Yes.
Folsom?
Yes.
Gazelle?
Yes.
Hanson?
Yes.
Pennington?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Thank you. Next is item number 12, public hearing and adoption of a resolution approving the following for Superior Retail, lots 1 and 2, Block 1, Superior Town Center. And we've got 3 items. We've got item A is final development plan, item B is special use permit, and item C is development improvement agreement. So with that, I will open the public hearing and ask for proof of publication.
Yes, I do.
Proof of publication's confirmed. And we want to do applicant presentation
No,
or town
actually,
presentation?
Mayor,
first?
we'll do staff presentation first, followed
Okay.
by the applicant. Stephen Williams, our town planner, is here, and he'll give a presentation on this final development plan for blocks 1 and 2. Just a reminder that we're selling block 1 or lot 1 to Centerpoint and retaining ownership of lot 2 after the improvements to lot 2 are made. And I see Pete Messmer's here from Superior Liquor as well, who's an interested party. And with that, I'll let Stephen.
Good evening, Stephen Williams, town staff. As stated, agenda item 12 concerns both the final development plan as well as a special use review for lots 1 and 2, block 1 of the Superior Town Center. The applicant Centerpoint Development Company requests the FDP portion of this review to develop lots 1 and 2. Centerpoint is proposing to construct a multi-tenant commercial building on lot 1 that includes 5,380 square feet of restaurant space and 2,214 square feet of retail space. The special use request is required by the Superior Town Center Plan Development regulations because the Starbucks tenant, which is the southernmost restaurant space user, is proposing to include a drive-through component. The board is also being requested to approve the associated development improvement agreement as part of this application. These illustrations collectively show where these lots lie within the town center. Block 1 is just south of Breaks Plus, and Block 2 is just south of Superior Liquor. And then this illustration here on the right shows where these 2 lots lie within the town center. They're the northernmost lots. There's 3 developable lots within Planning Area 1, as well as Parks 1 and 2. This is the site plan that was provided as part of this application. As detailed in Centerpoint's project narrative, the multi-tenant building would include a Starbucks on the southern portion of the property, a Firehouse Subs, and 2 other national retail tenants. The proposed drive-through is shown in yellow. It would originate in the northeast corner of the building and wrap around to the west before terminating in the southeast corner and connecting with the primary north-south access drive that's located here. This design, this drive-through, would safely accommodate 16 vehicular cars stacking to get through that drive-through. Lots 1 and 2 collectively encompass 1.5 acres of land. The dividing line is shown here by this red dash line. At 0.82 acres, Lot 1 is proposed to include the commercial building and the primary north-south access drive, which is shown in yellow. Lot 2 at 0.68 acres would include 79 parking spaces. The proposed 7,594 square foot commercial building on Lot 1 is 67 feet wide and 117 feet long and is oriented north-south, as you see here. As situated, it meets all the applicable setback requirements. The primary entrances for this building would face east towards the associated parking lot, and the applicant is proposing to include brushed and scored concrete on both sides that would total 45 additional square feet in patio space. Monument signs are proposed in the northwest and southwest corners of Lot 1. And this additional concrete kind of pattern, which we'll get into later, will help with traffic calming. But there's concrete to kind of help identify pedestrian access points throughout Lot 1's development. This aerial illustrates the current parking configuration on Lot 2, as well as the existing north-south access drive that already serves the Superior Plazas to the north. CenterPoint's proposal includes redeveloping Lot 2 to accommodate additional parking. Parking for the proposed development on Lot 1 includes 10 spaces, including 4 handicap spaces right in front of the building. In total, 89 parking spaces are proposed, all of which will be head-in stalls. CenterPoint's combined restaurant and retail needs require 43 spaces. The additional parking provided on Lot 2 would be shared with Superior Liquor, as Matt indicated earlier. Because Lot 2 will also be providing parking for Superior Liquor, there's some additional improvements proposed that will serve Superior Liquor, including some cart storage, as well as some access points and improvements on Lot 1 to kind of facilitate that access. This context map was provided at staff's request to show how lots 1 and 2 will interface with McCaslin to the west, Superior Plaza to the north, Marshall Road to the south, and then also lot 3 of block 1 of the town center to the east. Vehicular access to the site will remain unchanged. Marshall Road's a 4-way intersection with left turn movements. Superior Plaza Way will remain right in, right out. As one of the comments that kind of came back through the traffic study analysis, based on the traffic volume that this commercial site will generate, an additional left turn lane was recommended on McCaslin Road. And town, I think an announcement actually went out today that striping for that will start this week. So that was the main thing traffic-wise that came out of the study. The dashed green lines here show the existing and proposed pedestrian connections. The north sidewalk is in place, as well as the western sidewalk. CenterPoint will be installing a detached sidewalk along Marshall Road, just south of Lot 1, and then they're also proposing these additional pedestrian connections throughout their site to help connect Superior Plaza Way with Marshall Road and eventually planning area 2 to the south. The proposed building elevations are shown here. They reflect a variety of building materials, colors, heights, as well as facade articulation and relief. These plan sheets include perspectives of the proposed monument signs here as well, and we're going to get into each elevation as we go through here. This is the southern elevation. It will face east towards Lot 2 and the parking area. This is the primary entrances, are also identified by these doors here. In general, they've shown 3 different colors done in stucco, as well as some stone features throughout the development, and then 21 square feet of signage is proposed for each tenant on this elevation. Looking from the south from Marshall Road, this shows the southern facade of that building, which is also the drive-through lane. So there's more stone element here. There's a light box tower feature, as well as this pretty strong cultured stone veneer element, as well as the stuccoed beige. I think this is actually tan. There's beige and then a brown color. On this elevation, there's also 2 sign bands proposed. Staff's memo clarifies that neither 3-sided building signage nor multi-tenant monument signs were actually contemplated in the design guidelines, but final development applications may approve site-specific allowances, and other design guideline requirements suggest that allowances for a site in this location are appropriate. So in general, staff is supportive of the 3-sided building signage. These are actually 25 square foot signs proposed in this location and in this location above the drive-through window. And it would actually help the building address Marshall Road, which is one of the design guideline requirements. So this site in particular is pretty unique because it's bounded on 4 sides by roads, and it actually merits articulation to address each of those frontages. Most of the design guideline requirements, kind of in my opinion, are really heavily focused on the town center, which doesn't really contemplate a 4-sided building. They're really kind of connected together. So staff has no issues with this proposal, but certainly up for your discussion as well. The building's west elevation faces Marshall. It's kind of similar in style to the eastern elevation. It also has 21 square foot sign bands proposed along each store frontage. This one has a stone column in the middle, as well as this stone column at the end. And then this light box feature, we actually have additional images. But the applicant has clarified that it's going to be lighted only during the hours of operation. It won't include any signage. The lighting's actually diffused in a very muted, it's really just an architectural feature, but we have some additional images we can show to help clarify what that'll look like as well. The other thing on this one is that the building height changes on this side. Really, anywhere in the property, it varies between 20 and 28 feet. On this elevation, it varies between 22 and 28, with 28 being the tower element here on the southwest corner. The northern elevation is proposed to include 3 stucco finishes. This is where most of the utilities actually stem from. So what you see here are the electrical boxes that have been painted to blend in with the facade. We also have 2 glazing elements that help kind of break up this elevation. And then we've worked with the applicant to get some additional parapet height to help screen the RTU units. I think in most cases, based on the size of the structure, we won't need any additional rooftop screening, but we've put a clause in there that if we do need it, it will be screened to match this color, and additional screening will be provided on the roof. Finally, kind of getting to the monument signs shown here. They're proposed to be internally illuminated. The materials and colors are chosen to match the existing structure. As this site has been previously used to advertise Superior Liquor in Old Chicago, it's actually proposing to include 6 storefront signs, 2 of which would be dedicated to Superior Liquor in Old Chicago, and the other 4 would be used for CenterPoint's commercial development. Again, staff is supportive of this request. This is not something that is actually contemplated in the design guidelines. Most of the buildings and properties within the town center may not need monument signage, but something located on McCaslin with a multi-tenant configuration like it is, in addition with 2 primary access points off of Superior Plaza Way and Marshall Road, staff feels merit the monument signs proposed. CenterPoint's landscape plan illustrates the types, locations, sizes, and general care of the species proposed. Plant types are generally categorized as trees, shrubs, grasses, and perennials. The species chosen within each category conform to the species list within the design guidelines. Additionally, landscaping requirements, the table that reflects the numeric requirements has generally been met. CenterPoint has, however, requested a few exceptions to these standards. One of the requirements is that street trees be planted on each traffic island, and in this case, they've chosen to put a sidewalk in, which precludes the addition of a street tree, and generally we're supportive of this sidewalk actually outweighing the need for a tree on those islands. They've also proposed not to include a tree here. Staff's comments came back, and really the reason for not having a tree here is to aid in sight distance and vehicular safety in this location, because we have the entrance to the drive-through, as well as people backing out and people going up and down the drive aisle. So we've eliminated the trees here and here as well. And then staff feedback actually wanted fewer trees along McCaslin Road and no trees on Marshall Road until we actually have a street design guideline or kind of set up to marry with the park that's proposed to the south and the Marshall Road extension, which is actually planned or expected to be this summer. So the reason for no trees here is to include or to increase site visibility. There are 4 trees proposed within the patio area, and no trees except for this one deciduous or actually evergreen tree proposed here, but that is to help with site visibility. Staff also reviewed the associated drainage, utility, lighting, and irrigation plans, as well as streetscape details associated with this proposal, and found them to be in compliance with adopted standards and regulations. And then, as I highlighted or suggested earlier, we have added notes to the plan to clarify compliance in certain regards, particularly related to signage, hours of operation, stuff like that. On March 15th, a public hearing was held by Planning Commission to consider this proposal. A resolution recommending the joint approval of the FDP and the special use review application was passed unanimously. Planning Commission approved the resolution with staff's recommended condition that technical corrections be made, and largely those have been made between that hearing and this hearing. Since Planning Commission, staff did add condition B, which concerns maintaining that north-south access drive that's existing throughout construction. This was something that was always addressed in staff's memo, but we felt was more appropriately listed as a condition of approval. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead with the developer presentation. Then I'd like to do public comment, and then we'll circle back for board questions. I'd just like to get everything out on the table first.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Clint Jameson. I'm a partner at Centerpoint Development. For the record, our address is 4014 North Goldwater Boulevard, Suite 204, Scottsdale, Arizona, 85251. I don't have a formal presentation. I think Stephen did a great job tonight really explaining our proposal. The only thing I wanted to add, though, that he didn't talk about, and I know it came up with my partner during previous council meetings, that we do have 2 electrical charge point stations for, hybrid cars, and that's not, it wasn't highlighted, but it is on the site plan and in our files. But wanted to thank the town staff's been amazing. Working with Matt and Martin and Stephen has made the process just very easy and slick, and we're grateful to have the opportunity to develop here. So I'm here for questions, but didn't have anything prepared.
Okay, thank you. Give an opportunity for public comment now, if anyone from the public would like to make comments on this item. Okay. Seeing none, let's circle back to board questions for staff and or the developers. Who'd like to jump in? Mayor Pro Tem Williams.
Jump in. So I have a number of questions. First one, I was wondering if the Starbucks was going to be serving liquor. Is it going to be one of those types?
I'm not sure if it's been determined yet, but
Okay.
I knew obviously that they have been doing that in some of their stores.
Right.
But they would have to file for a liquor license to do that. But they have gone that direction, but it hasn't been decided yet as far as I know.
Okay. All right. And then as far as the signage, why, I mean, I can imagine why, but why do you feel you need 2 monument signs and signage on all 3 sides, or 4 almost?
Well, we are circled by 4 different right-of-ways, and the traffic here is pretty substantial. So, as cars are driving north or southbound at pretty heavy speeds, we want to make sure that our tenants have the best visibility and people know that these tenants are there.
So you don't feel that the monument signs would do the job?
It's a lot higher, the building, so having the building signage is preferred, and definitely enhances the building and the tenants that are in there.
That's one of my biggest concerns is the signage. It's just, it seems more than what we normally have in our town. So that's a big concern. The other thing is landscaping. As I understand, you're not going to have any trees on McCaslin. And probably as we look at this as a bigger vision for McCaslin, we should be discussing as a board how we want McCaslin to look from the diverging diamond and up through Discovery, the Discovery building, because I think it's kind of an important entrance into town, and not just having a monument sign saying, welcome to Superior and welcome to the town center. We might want to create more of an ambiance with, gorgeous trees or whatnot. But, so part of that discussion, and I see that the trees are not being planted in this particular location. So if you want to speak to that.
Yeah, so, one of the things we're encountering with the Superior Marketplace now is trees obscuring view of buildings. And, I mean, it's one of the bigger problems with the old Arby's site. If you drive by there, you can't even see the building now. And we hear that from tenants within the marketplace. So we're trying to work with Brixmor on how to reduce or move trees so that it's not obscuring the businesses. And then, so we're taking that into consideration here. Is we don't want to repeat what we did in the marketplace. So we're trying to strategically place trees so they add to the look and feel of the development, but yet don't detract from the businesses being able to be seen.
I mean, can you put bushes that are green, evergreen,
Yeah. Well, and then the other thing I'll just say on the monument signs, where there's 2 spaces, I think, as well for the Superior Plaza businesses, because they currently have a monument sign that's going to be removed, so we want to make sure that they had visibility out there as well. So.
Okay, that's good to know. They're going to
Yeah.
be removing that.
Yep.
But as far as the tree situation, I understand that, and that was part of my comments in my going through this. But I'm sure that there's other ways that we could landscape and give the ambiance that we want and the look and feel without doing visibility harm.
And I
So-
think you'll see that when the plans for the Marshall Road extension come forward, as far as being able to do more on that roadway and that extension. And then as we landscape the eastern side of McCaslin going south, we'll be able to incorporate more landscaping.
So-
And then you have the parks and the enhancement of the creek, which will be a focus. So all these things will come together to help
Okay.
create that look and feel that I think
I'm wondering if maybe we can put it on the retreat so we can discuss it.
Sure.
I think that would be a great idea. And then the road width, that access, what is that width?
I see now. 34. It's 34 feet.
34 feet.
Yes.
So it's kind of tight, a little bit tight.
Well, a typical two-way drive is 25 feet, so
Okay.
34.
What is it now?
I don't know what it is now. Does anyone know?
You mean between lot 1 and 2?
I know it's not a legitimate road at this moment, but
I don't think it's too much bigger than 34 feet. It's a 55-foot access easement, but it's
Okay.
not constructed at that width. So
Okay.
I
So
think this
it's-
is probably a little bit wider, actually.
It'll be a little wider than
Yeah.
what we have now. Okay, fine. And then.
Deb, can we expand on that question, though? Because that was one
Sure,
of my questions,
or you
too.
can, I have one more thing, and then you can
Okay.
go if you want. And then the other thing to consider as far as your aesthetics, that outdoor patio
Yeah.
that you have in the front
In
and
the
the back,
back,
especially in the front. 2 things about it. If you consider some kind of berming to, more so than what you've got, to mitigate the road noise that you will be hearing when you're on McCaslin and you're just sitting there.
You're talking about on the west? on
Yeah,
the
I'm
west
talking
side.
about the west side, because it will be a point where it'll be difficult to, hear.
And I think with some of the landscaping that we're doing, will kind of block some of the noise you're talking
Okay.
about.
But you might want to
Okay.
look a little further on that
Okay.
one. And then the concrete color, I know this is minor, but for an ambiance of a patio, nobody likes sitting on cold gray concrete. And you have these great walkways with these great colors.
Okay.
And I clicked to where the colors are, and there's a number of different colors that would complement the other 2 colors that you have, like
Okay.
a brick red or something like that.
Okay.
And so you might consider that.
Okay, we will.
Yeah, good idea.
Great, thank you. Let's do trustee Hanson and then Gregor's.
Okay. So just to back up to Deborah's question about the 55-foot easement. So within that 55 feet, there's parking that facing into the building, correct? So when you have cars that are parked there during your peak hours and they're backing out, is that going to be an issue? Because right now, there is some issues with during peak hours, cars going into the Superior Liquor Mart in Old Chicago. It kind of backs that up there. So are there going to be issues with people backing out?
Well, we don't expect it to be. And our traffic engineers designed it. And you got to understand that these businesses have kind of different times. You know, Starbucks is busy in the morning. The other businesses aren't even open yet. So there's kind of offsetting times on when their peak hours are. So we don't expect there to be an issue.
Okay. Well, that's something that we definitely need to be aware of.
Chris,
Okay.
could we call up that graphic, though, that pertains to what you're asking?
Sure. Right, yeah, that's
That's
good.
good.
Yeah.
Ariel?
Oh, back up.
No,
back
back.
up, back up.
That one?
No,
One-
go to
one
the
more.
next one. There,
Well,
I
I
think
guess
the next
that
one.
one
That
was-
one.
Okay.
So, so right here, so from there to there, I'm assuming it's 55 feet, and we have these islands. If you have cars parked here, what?
I think it's 30
We've got-
some
we've
feet
got
from the back
34
of the
feet.
parking lot to there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so 34 feet, but the whole width from there to there is
55.
55. So you have cars that are parked here, and you have traffic going both ways during peak hours, and they want to back out. They have to stop here to go to Superior Liquor Mart, Old Chicago, whatever. There potentially could be some traffic backups in this area here.
I suspect that the folks that are going to Pete's Liquors are going up McCaslin and doing right on Superior Plaza Way and not, no?
Now, most cars come, speaking from.
They should be, right?
personal experience.
No.
No. They come in here and then down.
But there is a right in, right out at Superior Plaza Way.
There is.
There is, but most people coming
Good
from
luck.
Rock Creek
I
or
have
from that
never
direction come
gone
in
to
this
Superior
way.
Liquors by going up to that
Yeah.
Superior Plaza Way.
Why is that easier for you?
Well, if there's.
It's the
especially
first
if
one
there's
you
the
come
park
to.
right here.
It's the first encounter, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if the light's red, yeah, you turn right.
Well, even if it's green, still go this way.
Yeah.
That's just
Yeah,
the
it's-
habit. This is always viewed as an exit.
As a way out, right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But the actual drive, the north-south drive, is 34 feet, which is much larger than a typical two-way drive.
Okay.
So we believe that we won't have any major issues backing out during peak
Yeah,
time.
and I-
Well, who's parking there anyway, on that side?
Well, it looks like four
Handicapped
handicap
cars.
stalls.
Okay.
So
Well, there's.
There's
more
some,
than
there's
that,
like
yeah.
There are a
4 or
couple on
5
either
others,
side.
6
Couple
others, yeah.
lucky people.
I mean, I think from a staff's perspective, we're talking relatively low speeds in this area. We have current conflict points now, and it seems to work. I mean, people understand that, you know, if somebody's backing out, they'll stop for them or let them out, and it seems to work. I don't think this is going to grow into an issue that creates major problems for the development myself.
So our accident rate will go up.
Hopefully not.
And then what about thinking further in the future with the hotel back here and all that?
Mhm.
How will that?
Yeah,
all-
so the hotel, the Marshall Road will extend further east, and so they'll have their own access in and out onto their lot.
yeah, so it comes like this.
Yeah, so the majority of those users wouldn't be using that access road portion of it, because they'll want to get directly into the hotel lot and back out.
Right, okay. But then, so they'll go along this way here? So
Right.
any traffic coming out of here in here will still have some potential interference with that traffic?
Yeah, I mean, I think when we first started looking at this development, staff thought a better option would be to move the access drive further east from its current location because of stacking on Marshall is going to be, you know, could be a problem in the future, but you know, there's valid concerns by the current owners of Superior Plaza about moving that and taking away their direct access to the liquor store and stuff, so we decided to leave it in its current location. But that's a bigger concern for staff, is backing up onto Marshall Road and people trying to get out from the access drive onto Marshall Road at some point in the future. But for those backing out of spots onto the access road, we don't see that as as big of a concern.
And then with regard to the trip generation, when I first heard about the plan of a Starbucks there and some of the other businesses, I thought, well, that's great complementary businesses. They're probably going to be mostly busy in the morning. Superior Liquor's mostly busy in the evening. But I got a report from Superior Liquor Mart on their traffic patterns,
Okay.
basically based on sales, the time of the day. And my concern now is you've got, where's that number? Oh, you've got 242 trips in the AM peak, 124 trips in the PM. Do we know how long?
Sorry.
I'm sorry, that report, we're going to have to make part of the record?
That's fine.
Okay, I'm just throwing it out there because everyone needs to be able to see it, including the applicant and
Yeah.
the rest
Okay.
of the board.
My
okay,
staff
so-
hasn't seen it, so.
The question isn't necessarily about that report, but the question is, with the numbers that were given in our packet, can we break those down by hour? So like at 10 a.m., do we know roughly what kind of traffic's going to be going through there to those 4 businesses? And then do we know how long they're going to stay? Estimate.
We don't.
Okay. It would be good if we can compare something with what Superior Liquor has a history on, especially the days like Friday and Saturday before Super Bowl. Starting in the morning, there's a lot of traffic that will go in there and purchase beer, wine, whatever else. So I would imagine there could be some conflicts, especially, and I didn't think this would be an issue, but this potentially could be an issue with the parking at all hours of the day on certain days. Okay. The sidewalk. Can we go to the page that shows the sidewalk, the proposed sidewalk?
Which sidewalk did you? The one with
There's
the
like the
green?
first page or second page, yeah, the green. So, let's see. So we have, this is McCaslin. We have the sidewalk coming across here. Is the sidewalk ever going to go down this way?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, it didn't show it on this plan, so I didn't.
No, that's not part of this FDP. So when the plans come in from the master developer for the Marshall Road extension, that's when that'll come into play.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. The drive-through, 12-foot wide drive-through, is that standard?
Yeah.
And 12-foot wide with these kind of bends, is there a limit to the size of a vehicle to go through there, both length and then also height? Are there signs that they have to go under?
Yeah, that's a good question, Chaz. Do you know that? This is our architect.
My name is Chaz Marcus. I work with G3 Architecture. And these are standard. So usually Starbucks, part of their prototype design, there will be a clearance sign that they need to pass under, and I believe it's 9'6".
Okay.
And these inner turning radius, what Starbucks prefers is 18 feet on the inner radius, and this is much, much higher than that.
Okay.
And they're willing to go down to 15. So the radiuses are actually pretty friendly to larger
Okay.
cars.
All right, good. Thanks.
Mhm.
Charging stations. In the plan we saw, it said that it's required. Is that required?
No.
Because it said required to, proposed to.
No,
That's what it says in the plans.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
But that's great you're putting
It's
them.
right here. It doesn't show on this plan, but this is where we're putting them.
All right, so then to get a legitimate charge, you've got to be there for a considerable amount of time, unless they're going to be 440.
Yeah, I'm not.
Okay.
I don't drive a hybrid, so I've never used it before, but we did look into it after, I think, in one of the earlier town council meetings. And my partner brought it up to me, and I said, all right, if that's what they want, let's do it and put it into our plans. And
Okay.
so it's into our design where we started the construction drawings last week and making sure we have power to that area. And
Okay.
we've got the adequate facilities to service those charge point stations.
That's good. So do you know, can we find out if they would be those high volume charge
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
charges a car in 20 minutes?
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
if there's going to be 2 charging stations, or will be 2 at each 2 of the 2 charging stations, so actually you could charge 4 cars?
No, it's going to charge 2 cars.
Okay.
So I think it's going to be back to back. I don't know if it's one unit that services 2 cars or 2 back-to-back units. So I need to look into that. But it's only 2 cars.
Okay. All right. Sorry, I got a couple more here. So building heights, 20 to 22 feet. Is that standard, or is that a little bit higher than normal?
It's a little bit higher than normal.
And why do we go that high?
It's just architectural element
Okay.
to have a nice feel and presence to it.
Okay, so that ties into another question I had about the 28-foot portion. And was it at one point at the opposite end of the building, and now it's?
Which one's the 28-foot you're talking about?
The lighted tower?
Oh,
Yes, the tower element.
Yes.
The concern is, when we get this building up, it runs parallel to McCaslin. Cars coming down McCaslin, I think their view to Superior Liquor Mart and all that will be obstructed. And I'm wondering, is it mandatory that 28-foot tower be there, or can it be back on the opposite end of the building? So
Well,
there's less.
I think when this is a very short distance here relative to the length of the whole building, and so there's only a small portion of that elevation that's the light tower itself, and then the rest of it drops off. So it's not really blocking Peace Liquors, because as you're heading north and you're looking right past that tower.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to have the signage with Peace Liquors on it. So we've taken that into account into our design, and the light tower is really something that we think really makes a statement on this building.
Okay.
And really makes it a nice feature, and it's a really good-looking building that we're excited about.
Yeah, I think it would be a nice feature, but just the concern is there that,
Sure.
Are we going to obstruct any of the current successful
we don't
businesses
think
in our
we
town?
will. We don't think
Okay.
it will.
Have you
really.
done a 3D model that you could see? Like a
No,
site?
I don't think we have, right, Chaz? Yeah.
Okay.
But it's my understanding that the heights permitted within the zoning is a lot taller than what we're doing. Is that a fair statement, Stephen? How tall could we do? 55 feet is what we could do.
Right.
And we're only doing 20 to 22 for most of our building, and 28 feet on a very small
tower.
percentage of it.
Okay. Number of employees that will be in the building at any given time, and then taking up parking spaces out here?
That's tough for me to answer as a developer because I'm not the operator of these businesses, but I suspect somewhere maybe 4 to 6 employees per space,
Okay.
something like that.
So.
And
16
we've
to
got,
24.
what, 89 parking stalls? Is that 89 parking stalls. I think we're required in the 40s, so and we're sharing some with Pete. So we feel that there's adequate parking here.
Okay. And then, just on, I forget the page, that is, AD1, you show the images of the different materials you're going to use. I noticed that the grout, the color of the grouts don't match the number. And
Jazz. Okay.
so I think that's kind of material if we're saying
Sure.
grout is going to this color and you show a picture of it, but then it's a different number.
Yeah, it sounds like we just made a mistake on the
Okay.
drawing.
Okay. And then in the resolution, the first whereas, it shows CenterPoint as being the owner of both lots 1 and 2. So I think we should change that to just lot 1. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Trustee Gregory.
Could we go back to the first slide? It says the signage and the.
This
No,
slide
keep
or-
going. No, the main one.
Oh, okay.
Keep going.
The building image.
One more that has the signage too.
That's the last one, sorry.
Maybe it's the last one.
Yes.
Oh, that one. Okay. So you're proposing to have 4 tenants, right? For
Yes, one for each of our.
But there's 6 spaces for signage. Is that to include Superior
And
Liquor?
Old Chicago.
In Old Chicago.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. Because
And-
they have signage out there right now.
Right.
So we want to make sure that we left them with signage.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
And is T-Mobile, is that one of your tenants, or
We're in negotiation, and we're hoping to get the lease done.
so you're basically 3 out of 4? You're almost there.
Yeah, we're
Do you have
working
any
on the
idea-
final space, and we're not. We haven't got it done yet, so I can't make any announcements. But we feel confident we're going to put that together and be fully leased out here in the next couple weeks.
We're excited to have you guys here.
Thank you.
It's going to look great.
Thank you.
Look forward to going shopping and drinking.
We like this a lot. We like this project a lot.
Yeah, thank you. I don't have any other questions. I mean, I like it.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Trustee Page.
Can you go back to the layout diagram, please? That one. Well, yeah, we can start there. This is the gateway. This building is going to be the architectural impact on this particular entrance to the whole town center. So I love the fact that you've got the patio, particularly on the back side. But most patios in this region don't work because there are 3 tables or 4 tables or 5 tables on this big expanse. And so sort of building on what some other trustees said, to make it an effective patio, because you've got that lovely west view.
Right.
The more people out there and the more inviting it draws people in, et cetera, et cetera. So is Centerpoint going to be responsible for putting those tables on that patio and maintaining it in any way?
No, it'll be our tenants that put the tables out on the patio.
Yeah. So here's the problem. Let's say you do attract T-Mobile. I bet T-Mobile has no patio tables.
Right.
Right? So that ends empty. Starbucks may have 4 or 5, and Firehouse may have 4 or something like that. It's an unsuccessful patio.
Okay.
So it looks pretty on a drawing, but it's not successful in creating the ambiance that we're trying to achieve here.
Sure.
So how can you work with us to create a real patio?
Yeah, that's a valid point. I hadn't thought about that, so it's a valid point, and I understand it. I think Matt and I can kind of get together and figure out how to solve the problem.
Right. One way, literally, is for you guys to buy the tables
Sure.
to put out there.
Sure.
And if you have 20, 25 tables out there spread out, I'm going to take my Starbucks coffee and I'm going to drink it behind T-Mobile, right?
Yeah,
Right?
I absolutely think this is kind of a shared patio space.
Right.
That it's not delineated in any way, and people can go out and sit wherever they want. So
Right.
I think Matt and I
Right.
can look at kind of making sure that the tables are.
Yeah,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
no, it's a great point, and again, I think it's something we didn't.
Name.
Oh, I'm sorry, Matt Ladendorf, Centerpoint Development.
Thank you.
I like the idea, and I think it's valid, because as I'm sitting here looking at it, Starbucks has a certain color and tone to their tables and umbrellas. Firehouse has the same. I think we could probably do something, we'll have to look at it, but I think we can probably put some tables that are more in a permanent nature, behind Starbucks, behind Firehouse, behind the other food tenant that we're talking to. And if we have to, we can extend that up to T-Mobile space and just make it in unison, something that's very nice.
And fairly dense. We don't want to take one table every 10 feet or something.
Absolutely.
You get the point.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to put some planters of flower. It is very sparsely landscaped right now, which troubles me. And I do believe you're going to want the noise break. You're going to want the smell break from the gasoline fumes, et cetera, from McCaslin. So how that is done matters. And then having, the big flower pots periodically to make it look warm and inviting. And lots of trash cans and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Successful patio.
No, and those are all great points, and we thought about that when we looked at the landscaping that is in and around the drive aisle. We didn't want it to be just a railing with cars going by, because I wouldn't want to sit out there and have that. So we wanted to have something that was much like a barrier, some foliage and green to separate and buffer, so it would. When it's mature, it's almost like this barrier between the two. So, but we will go back and take a look at that, because I think that's something that.
There's 2 of us saying that.
Yeah. Pardon me?
Both of us are saying that same thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think we can go back and improve on the patio, some of the landscaping, whether they're in pots there, and the permanent tables.
Right.
Because we'll want to control that, and we will maintain that throughout. We won't rely on the tenants to do that. So we'll want to keep the consistency of the patio being clean. We're going to maintain the front of all of that as well, but we'll have plenty of trash cans back there, and then we'll maintain that through day porters and stuff like that.
To the extent you have a patio in the front, you'll have to take all this into consideration too. But I believe if you've got a successful patio on this west side, that's where people are going to flock, and you'll find that you really don't need to also have one on the east side, although I love patios, so I'd have them wherever you can. But they've got to be well populated with tables and all that stuff. Good.
No,
Thank you.
Thank you for the comment.
And seriously considered the colored concrete.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you look around and see colored concrete patios, they are so warm and inviting compared to just cold concrete.
We want to make it, and that's the reason why we elected to go with patio on the back. We felt that it was too nice of an area to just have back doors and landscaping up to the back of the sidewalk. So we wanted to make it inviting all the way through the building. And when you look at the building from McCaslin, it's almost like you're looking at the front of the building. So we didn't want to be looking at this is the gateway and the entrance into Superior. We didn't want to look at the back of the building.
Right.
So, so going with the patio and back there, but we got a little more work to do, and we'll make it right.
And then you can attract that fourth client with your great patio.
Well, I just met with them today, so I think
Oh,
we're
good.
almost there. But
Okay.
yes, you're right.
That second point, how many cars fit in that long drive-through?
16.
So poor me, if I go into it and there are 12 cars in front of me, how long does that take to clear?
I don't have a definitive answer on how long a Starbucks queue is, but I've heard they try to turn around in 70 seconds each order. So,
How good is your barista
Huh?
that day?
Yeah. Anyway, it's very long, but I cannot come up with another option. So it's what it's got to be. It looks like. Would we go? Can we go to Steve? Are you there? The one that better shows the demarcation of the two lots. That one. I'm a little concerned. You know, in a perfect world, you're going to be in business forever, and Superior Liquor is going to be in business forever, and so the permanent easement on Lot 2 will never come into play. But there is an out in the contract that if one of you ceases to exist, then the agreement's off, and it's got to be renegotiated, as I understand it. Am I correct before I proceed?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm a little concerned about how this yellow part infringes onto Lot 2. Because let's say one of you goes out of business and the town then regains full use of Lot 2. See how we cut through those medians and whatnot. And I just wanted to throw to the manager and the attorney, is this of any concern down the road?
Not to me, because we will take control of Lot 2 if that ever happens.
Yeah, and it would have to, if we wanted to do something different with Lot 2 in the future, we would have to reconfigure that entire lot, would be my expectation.
You were going to say something, Matt?
Well, to their point, I've got 4 businesses there. You can't disrupt. I've got parking that I need to park.
Right.
Access. This access drive can't go anywhere. I mean, so something pretty serious would have to happen in order for you guys to take that lot back.
I mean, yeah.
With Superior Liquor, if they were to leave or do something, that doesn't mean that things change.
I mean,
it's just
the scenario that I think would have to come into play is all the Lot 1 ownership goes to somebody else, and they somehow take ownership of Superior Plaza at the same time, and they want to redo they want to redo everything. And
But
then
you've
we'd
thought
have
of
to-
this and you're fine with it, everybody's fine with it.
I mean, in order, I think this is what has to occur to provide parking for Superior Liquor and parking for Lot 1 businesses, yeah.
I am, okay, I'm going to defer. If they're not worried, I'm not worried. Typically, I would be expected to do a little preachiness on the aversion to flat roofs because we like our tapered roofs, et cetera. Obviously, you've considered it because you're nodding there. Why the flat roofs?
You know, we proposed some designs of this, and I guess we didn't want it just to look like another pitched roof development. We wanted it to be a little out of the box. We wanted to introduce some different materials. We wanted to make it a little more mainstream, a little more contemporary, but yet incorporate some palettes of some colors and materials and stones and metal and wood that we felt that would be a nice complementary project. But yet at the same time not looking like something across the street or around the corner. So we wanted to be a little different because, again, this being kind of the gateway in here, we wanted to really, be something special.
Okay.
And hence the light tower that we had. It was on the other side, and then we moved it over here. And again, it's costing me money to put it on there. I don't get any benefit from it other than it's just something different. It's something nice. In the holidays, we can do some different lighting on it, and it's just a nice feature. It's something different.
Well, I led my comments by saying typically I would. I have no concerns here because I do like your design. I think it's nice. I like the articulated heights, and I do like that tower. It's opaque glass, right? It's not clear, right? Okay, so I'm good with the design. I don't want the whole town center to come in with flat roofs, but I think this being a smaller building and whatnot, I'm good with it.
And can I want to go back to a comment that was made regarding the visibility to Superior Liquor from the light tower, and when you come down McCaslin, you're going to, the intersection sits right in here. Yeah, if you get right here,
Matt,
there'll be
do
some blocking,
you
but I
mind
think-
speaking in the
I'm
mic?
sorry.
You
I'm
have
sorry.
it.
Thanks.
Yeah, sorry. When you're coming down McCaslin here, there's this line of sight from the building that before you even get to the intersection, you'll be able to see Superior Liquor far before. So I don't, this little piece here, if you're parked right here, you might be obstructed from that. But as you're approaching the intersection, coming down the hill, it's an unobstructed view to that. But we'll have Chaz do an oblique aerial like we've provided in some of the other renderings from that view, so you can kind of get a feel for that. But
Well,
that was my
Pete's here, so I want to hear it
so-
from him if he's concerned or not. If he's not concerned, I'm not concerned on that placement or the height of the tower. In electrical charge stations, let's say it's all packed and those are the only two without that are available. Can I, in a regular car, park in those?
That's a good question. My initial response to that would probably be no, because it needs to be saved, but
Is it illegal?
I don't know.
But I would say that it's the same thing as a handicap parking. I mean, you can have a parking that's full, just because a handicap is open, you're not going to park there.
It's up to, it would be up to how we sign it, how it's signed. If it's signed,
Well, my
electric vehicle
attitude-
use only, then no, you can't park there. If it's
My
get-
initial instinct is, Chris is right, that during the, Super Bowl, during Christmas and holidays and whatnot, there's going to be a crush, there's going to be a lot of demand for
Yeah,
spaces.
I think we would probably sign it at that.
Only?
Only for
Only.
that, because
I
it's only
totally
two
agree.
parks, and you want those people to,
Yes.
if they're going to park there and have that car, we've provided it for them. then
You'd
they
get
should
some
have
pretty annoyed looks from the Prius owners.
Well,
I totally agree with
I
you.
do
Right.
think it's imperative then to have the high-capacity chargers, not the 4-hour ones.
Yes, we'll
right?
check on
Okay.
that, yeah.
And then policy for the town. I actually think it's a slam dunk to have Starbucks. And I personally would have liked a local coffee house to go there, but I fully understand why you prefer Starbucks going there. But we do have Panera right the other direction. And so from a policy standpoint, was there no compete as far as Panera was concerned?
Why would there be?
Anything related to Panera would be specific to the marketplace.
Right, okay.
And Panera serves more, they have a much wider variety of menu items.
Totally.
It's more of a,
I agree, but on this side of town right now, where do you get? I make my own coffee because I'm too cheap to buy Starbucks, right? But where do you buy coffee up on this end if you want a coffee?
sure.
But there's no mac and cheese at Starbucks, so.
Yeah.
So you're safe.
Okay, good enough. But I do want to, Pete, even if you're okay with everything, I'd like you to just come up and say you're okay. That's all for me.
And if Pete's not, we'll go handle it outside. No.
Is this the pointer?
Yeah.
Okay. My name is Pete Messimer. My local address is 100 Superior Plaza Way. Can I yell loud enough to be able to see where I'm pointing? Will that work? No.
No.
All right.
Just turn the mic towards you. Yeah, there you go.
Drag this whole table over. As Matt said, one of the things that Superior Liquor has been very concerned and adamant about is it's keeping this road where it is. This development comes along with a developer willing to do that, which is great. We're very excited about that. We're also very excited about having a single-story building right here from a standpoint of blockage of visibility as we get further buried. We got buried a little bit when Brakes Plus went in. And part of that was that they had an elevated roof because they had a lift station for all their mechanics. And what was there before was a single-story convenience store gas station. I think it was a Shamrock. So we are concerned about being buried. We're also lower in elevation than this property over here. The 28-foot tower, and I think the profile going down maybe to 24 feet from there, or 23 feet, as this thing scales back, is certainly higher than we thought. But again, we go back to this road is worth a lot to us to have it maintained in its current location. The 34-foot distance that I think is measured here is wider than this measure here. So there is a bottleneck up at the top, which is not 34 feet. I don't know if anybody knows that measurement, but if you look at the schematics, you can see that this sidewalk goes further west than this one. So that's a concern. This island will go away, which is great because every third truck runs over that utility box that doesn't seem to be connected to anything because nothing ever goes out. Our employees right now park along here, and they park anywhere from 4 to 8 hours. So the amount of traffic backing up and moving into these two lanes as traffic's going back and forth is pretty minimal. With the kind of traffic I expect at Starbucks and some of the other businesses here, I think there's going to be a lot more frequent interaction between people backing up and traffic going north-south. There are now 3 entrances and exits from this parking lot. 1, 2, 3. There were only 2 currently. So I think the traffic coming in at different points is going to create points of conflict. There's a stacking coming back here that will accommodate 16 cars. I don't know what to expect the normal load to be. If you go to the Starbucks further north, they're on McCaslin in the right-hand lane. If they start to back up past 16, that'll start to block traffic through here. I don't know what to expect to happen. Here you have two lanes of traffic, or 2 egress in, or what's the right term? Two different traffic configurations that don't currently exist coming into this road. It does back up here as people try to head south to get out, and then you've got people trying to get in and out of the way from the Starbucks drive-up window. So there are configurations that I see in here that I think are going to be challenging, but I'm not standing up here saying, please don't do it. I'm standing up here saying I anticipate a lot of congestion and potential problems with a tight, heavily trafficked, multi-access point road that's only half a block long. I think that the architecture and the plan is outstanding. You know, Matt's been very cooperative, through the whole process of access points that are huge for us, moving the electrical down into here for the charged cars, and not something where somebody would be parked up here for a long time. These parking spaces were originally going to be shorter, requiring short car only. The plan currently shows these to be full 18-foot deep. So there's been a lot of work to get this to make it happen. I'm not here to block that. But I am concerned that this area can be very congested. And a lot of it has to do with the setback required because of this. And I don't know what flexibility there is in pushing this whole thing a little bit further west. I know Matt's explored that. So that's my position on the project. We're supportive of it. I'm not here to try to derail it. The traffic counts that Chris was talking about, he called and asked me for more information today. The information I provided includes volume, dollar volume, so I ask it not to be shared, but I would be glad to provide traffic counts for those hours. If you guys want them, I'd be glad to provide it as part of your decision making. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Okay,
Any questions?
thank you. Okay. Trustee Dozell?
Okay, one of my questions was about the patio, and I too felt that the patio was too light to the west. And I like the ideas that you're talking about, particularly the barrier between the cars and the patio itself, something that actually you're not sitting there watching the cars go around. I mean, you can see the tops of them, that's no big deal. And the landscaping was very light. You only had 4 ornamental trees there. I didn't know what that meant. You know, it didn't sound to me like someplace where I could sit under a tree and get some shade. But I like the idea of permanent tables that you all would maintain. I think that's really good. That whole patio experience and the berming that I think Deb suggested, that's a good idea too. But some kind of a barrier between the cars, the street noise, the cars going around for the Starbucks, and that patio. Make that a place where we'd actually want to sit. I look at the front of the patio, and I've tried to sit out at the Firehouse Sub in Lafayette that has cars drive right up to the tables that are in front of that building, and it's a terrible experience. So when you got cars coming in, going out, coming in, going out, and I think it looks almost like this. I believe there's a T-Mobile there and a Firehouse Sub and a couple other businesses in a building very similar to this. I don't know if it's your building or not, but it's very similar to this in Lafayette, and it's just unappealing to sit at those tables in the front and have the cars coming in and backing out, parking, running in, getting something and backing out. So again, some kind of a barrier or something that makes you feel like you're in a patio, that you're not going to get run over, or that everybody's not looking down into your cake pop that you just brought out from Starbucks with your coffee.
Yeah, and again, what we tried to do here is create a larger than normal patio than you'd see at another development, because we had so much room to work with here, and shifting our building, closer to McCaslin, we were able to create a little deeper front patio. Unfortunately, to Pete's comment, hey, could this have all moved forward? The problem is that this drive aisle stays the same.
Right.
So no matter if I move this building all the way up here, my parking really had to stay. You couldn't have gone in here to park, and it would have made it very difficult. So this front parking kind of had to stay in that position there, no matter where I moved this building a little closer here or here. This is kind of where that had to stay.
Right.
But what we tried to do and be more conscious of this was, as we move the building closer to McCaslin, let's create a nicer patio, deeper patio on the front side of it, and we'll do some landscaping. And again, I think your comments are very valid. We'll look at the landscape. How do we make it a little softer? And because you are going to have cars, coming in here. I think we've got a bike rack and some other stuff labeled here. So,
is that a sidewalk there where you're kind of that little that?
This is a sidewalk right here. So
right.
You've got a sidewalk, so you've got parking, then a sidewalk, then you've got the.
So that helps, because that's not
buffer.
in the other. You just
Right.
need to feel like you're actually on a patio and not sitting in the front entrance of the
Yeah.
building.
And I believe we've got, if I'm not mistaken, along here, we've got some railings and we'll have some access points in there to kind of show you that, it's an
Right.
enclosed patio area.
I think that's good. And the whole landscaping, I thought, was pretty light. And I heard what Stephen said about not being able to, read your report about not being able to put trees in, but I just don't think there's enough trees, however they are. And you only have 6 deciduous, I think, big shade trees, and they're all on the east side of the parking lot. And there's only 1 evergreen tree up front here. Just kind of rethink that whole, or really look at the whole landscaping thing, because what you're picturing in the building is not what the trees that you've got on your landscaping plan right now.
What we're trying to, we're not trying to get out of putting in, nice landscaping trees. What we're trying to be cautious of, because our tenants will be very concerned about this, are trees with large canopies.
Sure.
So you get trees, and to the point that Matt made across the street, all of a sudden as the mature trees grow, you can't see the buildings.
Mhm.
We want to do nice landscaping. We can do some trees, but just ones that don't have a real broad canopy that now all of a sudden start to cover the building and stuff like that. So I think we can come back and take a look at what those species are.
Right.
And provide some nice.
Or like you mentioned, I think you mentioned about putting them in big pots, which keeps them from growing so large, but gives you the look and feel and also a way to make some barriers. So I think those are all good, and that was one of my major concerns about the landscaping wasn't good. And then, okay, so then the signs themselves, I like the monument signs. I think, though, that they're quite different from what we already have in the marketplace across the street. Not that I want them to be the same, but I just want to be aware of that the signs that we've approved so far in other places around town look a lot different. So are we going to move, and this is more for staff than for you guys, because I like that sign that you're showing, but it's really that we need to think about what kind of consistency will we have as we move into the rest of Superior Town Center, and do we want to make any connection to any of the rock or anything that we've put in? I'm not, I mean, you can answer that, but it's more of a rhetorical question at the moment. It's kind of a think about that, and maybe we should talk about that when we talk about the experience of McCaslin going through the town center up south, up the hill on the retreat. What kind of signage and what kind of, is there any consistency we'd like to have? Now, I think that I like the sign, and I'm glad you're going to have the 6 positions for the monument sign. And I think this one down here on the southwest corner will be great, at an angle. But I'm trying to figure out who's ever going to see the one on the northwest corner. Because with the diverging diamond and the Brakes Plus and all that, I mean, I'm not sure any car is actually going to be seeing that one. So I would just ask, and I know Deb asked, do we need 2? I'm asking, can you see it? Will anybody actually see it?
Well, I can tell you, we don't want to install a sign that no one can see because they're very expensive signs.
Well, that's why I'm asking the question. Take a look at that. That one that's up here.
What you don't know is there's a lot of utilities and there's easements right in here, so we're kind of driven by that. But that's one of the things we've been heavily looking at the last week or so, is making sure that this is something that makes sense and people can see this sign. So these signs are expensive. We don't want to build them and no one can see them.
I'd rather have a tree there, personally, because I don't think when you're coming south over the diverging diamond, that
See it anyway.
who's going to see it?
Sure.
Because you've got this traffic going that way. At the same time, this traffic's
I
coming
can
that way.
tell you internally, we've been talking about that a lot lately and just making sure that it makes sense. But
Okay, all right. Okay, so I did that. Now, let's see, and then the southern elevation signage. Okay, the whole signage, though, there's 2 signs, and I know, and they both would be on the southern elevation of the building. Both would be Starbucks signs, right? And on the side of the building. So I would just ask that, make sure they're not bright and stick out like a sore thumb kind of a thing.
I think at this point the signage hasn't been determined because it's really driven by the tenants, not us as a developer. What we've done is reserved the sign band and made sure we met code. And on the south elevation, it's really so that people know there's a drive-through and that kind of stuff. On the western portion of the south elevation might be the Starbucks logo, but on the eastern portion, it's probably just the little drive-through. It says
Right.
drive-through, something like that.
Right.
So it's not intended really to identify Starbucks, more of that there's a drive-through here.
Right, okay.
So-
And I've seen a lot of those signs, which
Sure.
are fine, just that they can't be so bright that they stand out and, blind everybody. And, yeah,
Sure.
and then the other thing is that light tower, I like that idea, but I also say that it needs to be subtle. I assume it will be subtle light.
Yeah, it won't be clear.
Not like,
it won't be,
woo, you know.
yeah. Our intent is not to light up the area. Our intent is to just have a nice architectural feature. And one of the things that Matt and I have been talking about lately is maybe at Christmas time it's a red,
Right.
or a nice little or Thanksgiving it's a little orange color or something like that. Having the ability to modify it at certain holidays.
Right.
But
Or you
other-
have LED psychedelic lights.
No, we're not.
going
Gonna,
no.
that is not our plan to do that. But
Now, is it lit
On
all
Super
the
Bowl
way down?
Sunday, it will be orange, right?
Yeah,
There you
right,
go.
right.
That's
Of
it.
course,
Yeah,
orange
yeah.
and blue.
So does it light all the way down from the bottom of the building to the top, or is it just on the top?
And we have lighting standards that they have to meet, so
Right,
we'll,
right.
we'll
I
have
know.
that as well. Yeah.
I know, but
Yeah.
I've been having a lot of problems with lighting lately, so, so I just want to make sure that it doesn't get incorporated too bright from the beginning. I know you have lighting standards and, okay, so there's one at the top.
These are
is
just some
lit.
examples of kind of where we got the concept from.
Yeah, I like that. But will the Starbucks, the bottom portion be, will that be opaque? Will that be part of a wall? Will that be lit from inside the Starbucks, you won't be able to see it? Or it'll be just on the outside? I'm just, okay, it's just on the
I like
outside. So
that
inside, if you're sitting in Starbucks, it'll probably be the toilet or something. But
Yeah,
you
no,
know.
you can't see through the
Okay,
outside.
all
So
right.
maybe a foot behind where the Lexan is
Yeah.
is a back wall.
Okay.
So just have internal LED lights that kind of light up that space. No, you
Right.
can't see through it.
Okay, all right, so I was wondering if it was glazing, if it was actually windows, or if it was just actually part of the tower, the lighted tower,
Yes.
the opaque lit tower. And then the lights too that go around the building and in the parking lots. I know I saw the one that, they all got the light has to go
cutoff.
down,
Full cutoff.
not out in any way.
Sure.
No lighting can go out or up, it all has to go down.
Sure.
And I know you've got all the looms, the amount of lighting and all that, but just all the lights have to go down.
Right.
Nothing out or up, other than that lit tower. And then my last question is, where will the Boulder Valley Ice people park?
So we've had discussions with the master developer who owns that lot now, and the contractor for CDOT Ames is going to be largely out of that area in May, and so that's where they'll park.
You move them around there so they can
Yep.
start ripping this all up.
And I don't know how much longer they'll be able to use that building if they are able to finalize their purchase and sale agreement with the hotel developer. That building may come down sooner than everybody expected. So.
Right. Well, that guy that came, I can't remember his
Yeah,
name.
he was
that-
expecting.
Yeah, he says as long as possible. He'd like
Right,
to use
yeah.
it till it fell
Yeah.
down. So not,
Yeah.
came down. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions for staff for the developer? Okay. The beauty of going towards the end is that everything under the sun has been addressed, and so I'm good with my questions. I've got a few comments, but I can leave that for the discussion portion.
Can I make a motion? Sure. I'd like to make a motion.
We've got to close the public hearing. Yep. Anything further before we close the public hearing?
Keith wanted to say something, I'm not sure.
Yeah, he'll be back shortly. So what's the process? We close this,
We close the public
discuss,
hearing.
do we have to articulate conditions if we want to make sure something
I
happens?
have a list of what you discussed. I have a list of what you discussed, and you can let me know, and Kendra, what you want to include as a condition. We can go through that list.
Okay, Trustee Ross, we're about to close the public hearing. I wanted to see if you want to have any further comments or questions or anything. Okay. All right, public hearing's closed. And any comments? I guess any comments maybe to formulate any conditions and
Yeah. If there's any way that you could foresee signage being reduced, go for it. But I'm not going to make it a condition where you can't have the signage on all sides. But if you, I mean, I know it's expensive. We both see it the same way. You know, I'm just hoping that if you should find that it's not as necessary and you're able to reduce it, that would be great.
You're trying to save the money, basically, is what you're saying.
Thank you.
And the junkiness
Right.
and the future, you know, whatever that may be, where your
Okay.
signage becomes something different.
anything?
Got the resolution ready right here.
Okay.
No, we're not
No,
ready
we
for
have to talk about the
We have to do
conditions.
So-
We want to review the potential conditions
Yes.
first.
Let me
before
just
we
go through
make
my
it.
list, and you can, what I heard was, and Kimberly, let me know if I
Okay.
miss anything. Add landscaping, a patio to buffer McCaslin noise, or west patio, 'cause there's one on the east side as well. The color concrete for the patio area, did you want to make that a condition, or?
I mean, they're the
No.
designers, but
Right.
if you think about, you know, the ambiance, it's part of that whole ambiance that we're all, there was many of us talking about that. And
I think it's a good suggestion. I don't know that we make it a condition.
Well,
No, I would not
one
do
way to
that,
make
but-
a suggestion is that we have spent a lot of time on the combination of brickwork, color, and all that kind of stuff for the Superior Town Center.
That's true.
So that could supply the template for the type of texture that, and color that you're talking about.
Mhm.
I think it said in the staff report, though, that it was consistent with some of those design guidelines from the town center. I
Mhm.
don't see it's inconsistent, other than there's no brick or rock, I don't believe I saw in this building. It's all stucco and glass, glazing.
There's some stone.
There was some stone?
Yeah.
So, I just think that we should have more discussion about this as a board, not necessarily as a condition here, but
Yeah.
as we go forward, because this is the first building
Yeah.
of the town center, really, and we need to say, and it looks different than Boulder Valley Ice Building.
Mhm.
Or
So-
anything in the town center.
Well, we don't have anything in the town center
Well,
yet, it's got Boulder Valley Ice.
But maybe,
So,
potentially.
maybe, so we need to see, is there a way to bridge these, marry these together in a way that makes some sense? Like, conformity is a requirement of our comprehensive plan. Conformity with the buildings that surround each other. Doesn't mean they have to be exactly the same, but, you know, they need to flow. And I'm not saying they don't, because we don't have anything in the Superior Town Center yet. We don't know what the hotels, well, we do have a concept of a couple of the hotels. But I'm just thinking that we need to have some more discussion and thought. But I don't say I need to make a condition of it, other than I would strongly encourage the staff to keep close tabs on this, so that we don't get a building that looks so out of place. And now that I think about it too, you set it beside the Superior Plaza. It does look different. Now,
Yeah.
again, I don't know that that's bad. I'm just saying, well, how much conformity do we want?
Okay. Condition, okay, go ahead. Conditions.
The charging stations, to the the 440?
440, I believe it is, yeah.
440 charging stations, I don't know, it's on my list, do you want to make that a condition?
I don't.
I don't see that as a
As I
condition.
understand it, there's a dramatic price difference between those two, or between the different options, and I don't think that's appropriate to make that a
It's
condition.
okay with me not to require it. It may not be okay with Chris to
I
require that.
don't think we should require it. I think it's a good recommendation, but I also think there's probably maybe grants out there that we could participate in. And I would talk
Yeah,
to
yeah. And we have a consultant
Nissan
that
in
helps us
Boulder.
with that,
Boulder
too.
Nissan is heavily into this stuff. And
We are recommending a lot of things, we're not requiring a lot of things.
I think it's a great idea, I just don't think it
I
should
think
be
what came
required.
up the last time when you presented, Matt, to us, because I had just been from a Dr. Cog meeting where they had highly recommended, but it's like $100,000 investment over a 20-year lifespan for these high energy, the high.
$100,000?
Over the 20-year life cycle of the maintenance and everything, putting it in. That's what I remember, that there's over 20 years, it'll cost you to install it and maintain it. You know, it's a healthy investment for those fast ones. And, you know, we talked, because I remember you came up and gave your presentation and said, wow, I should think about, I'll take that back and say, we can draw people off the highway because we have one of these fast chargers.
That's right.
And they'll want to come off the highway, because that's the problem right now, is nobody wants to drive from Denver to Boulder and then have to go get their kids and then have to come back to work and then they don't have a place to charge their car.
I hope they can drive from Denver to Boulder.
But if you have to leave, no, the point was, if you have to leave to go get your kid from school because they're sick, and you have to go back and forth, and you may end up being undercharged. And so if you have a place like that, you could draw people off the highway. So again, I don't think it's a condition, but I highly recommend that you take a look at that as a way, just putting another charger. We've got 2 out front. I just parked in one tonight, so I'm in violation. So, you know, because I also don't like that if there's no other place to park, you have to have an electric car to park there. I'm sorry, but I understand the handicap, but
You want a time off to go move it?
I don't, it didn't say that I'm going to get a ticket. If I get a ticket, I'll be very upset.
I know where Reggie is right now.
Are both of
because-
them that say you can't park there unless you're charging your car?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I've seen a lot of people park there that aren't,
Yeah.
I've seen you park there, but.
I have an electric car.
I know.
She has an electric
I
car.
know, but you're the only person I've seen.
What if he's
park-
not charging it?
He's the only person
can
I've
fill
ever
up.
seen charge it.
That's a good point.
Okay, we digress. Let's get back to
Kendra has made the
condition.
change to the resolution about the ownership.
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
you for that. Centerpoint to provide tables on the west patio.
Oh, no.
Or-
No.
It has to be more elaborate than that.
Okay.
I have something
Go.
written here. Regarding the west patio, Cornerstone will supply.
Centerpoint.
Centerpoint, Cornerstone. That would be good to
You're
have.
thinking about.
Okay, regarding the west patio, Centerpoint will supply and maintain an ample number of patio tables with umbrellas behind all businesses, along with a similar supply of flower and tree pots, so as to create a successful patio ambiance.
So let me ask you something. That's a mouthful, number one. Number two.
I'll repeat it.
I can't imagine T-Mobile people wanting to have a patio. I
Doesn't
mean, people-
matter. And the point is to create a
No, I-
successful patio ambience, you have to have it all filled with the visual off.
Okay, if I'm going to T-Mobile, I want to get my thing and buy it and get out. I'm not spending time on the patio
You're
looking at my
behind-
iPhone.
Yeah, yeah, but you get the point, that
I get
this
the
is
point,
a
but-
successful patio, and we want it filled with people. I'll take my Starbucks and sit at that empty table behind.
How many tables do you think
Timo.
would fit in there?
25.
Per your plan? 25
No.
tables?
What? No, I'm not okay with this. So just-
I'm not specifying a number, but you
I was
asked
just
the
gonna say, I
question
think
of me.
If we're going to impose a condition like this, we have to be more specific.
Well, how many do you
Mary
think,
Kay
Matt,
asked
would
them-
fit in there?
We can't,
We
we'd have
closed
to
the meeting.
Does anyone happen to know how
Yeah,
many tables
we-
might fit in there?
Well, again, then we'd have to
You
open the
can't
public
ask that?
hearing again,
Is this a general question?
unless Stephen.
Well, I don't know
Yes.
if that's a
Yeah.
condition that we need to have, honestly.
Well, maybe you should talk about that
Yes,
first
yes.
before we go any
Well,
further.
I'm not in favor of making a condition with that great detail, honestly.
I think that having a certain number of tables is a good idea, but 25, making that stipulate, I think that would be too many.
I'm not prepared to put a number, that's why I'd say it an ample supply, and I understand
What does
that.
that mean, though?
I understand that is less than precise, but I'm reading this applicant as being, wanting to, in good faith, provide us a nice, vibrant patio.
Sure.
So if you think it's 15 and that's fine. You know what we're out to create, right?
Then
So-
I would suggest that this also be a recommendation and not a
I
condition.
totally agree with you, Kendra.
I think it's very difficult to enforce, it's very difficult for staff to interpret. But
Let's go back to the very first condition we talked about, improving landscape and patio arrangement. Was that a condition or
That was a
recommendation?
condition.
Okay.
It's
And
up to the board, but.
And in my mind, that would that would encompass this as well. The idea is enhancing that west side patio area, and maybe we add a table comment to that first condition to.
Yeah, let's read it again, maybe you're correct.
So,
what have you got for the first condition?
All I have was applicant shall add landscaping to the area near the western patio to minimize traffic noise from McCaslin Boulevard. So it does not.
that's
That's
enough,
actually
though.
not what we really
That's what I said.
Okay.
even meant.
Well,
Yeah.
that's
No, not entirely.
Yeah.
That just add screening and noise berming in some way, shape, or
Berming, that's-
form that creates a nice ambiance and patio experience. And, however you deem that to be, I'm not going to sit there and request it's this, and this. I'm going to trust that the applicant understands the intent.
again, I will
So I
recommend that be a
fundament-
recommendation, not a condition.
Right, I
Well,
agree.
no, that's fine. That's absolutely fine.
Well, the problem is if it is not done, because if in fact this isn't done, what you said, and if in fact the tables are not supplied by Centerpoint, and we end up having another unsuccessful patio, that matters to my vote. It matters to me if I have 6 green Starbucks tables and 4 red Firehouse tables, and the rest of the patio is like every other patio around. It's not vibrant. This is our west gateway, and it matters here. So it matters to me.
May I make a suggestion? I think it's back to what the gentleman from Centerpoint said, was that my idea of a condition would be that the west patio would include not berming, barriers and buffers. They could be a berm or whatever it is, barrier and buffers, and tables and landscaping maintained by Centerpoint. Is that okay with you? And then that, instead of saying that.
But
you
no
still-
numbers, no anything.
No,
We'll
you
just keep
can't.
it
I
warm,
don't know.
right?
Would
I
you
wouldn't-
add a
I-
clause to create a successful
Well,
patio
that's
environment?
subjective.
Well, obviously,
so
that's what they want to
subjective.
do.
Yeah.
We don't have to require
Yeah,
them to do
that's
that.
so
It's in their
subjective,
best interest
but-
to create that.
Okay, so to go back to what I think, in my mind, and what I heard him say, is that, they will provide buffer barriers and/or barriers, like around what we're talking about. You don't have to put this in, but, from the patio to buffer them from the drive-through and the street is the intent.
You're talking landscape buffers.
No.
Not necessarily.
And
no.
no, I
No.
think there has to be some kind of a barrier.
A hard
where,
barrier.
a hard barrier of some kind, between the cars and whether it's a kind of a wall or something.
Otherwise, you're smelling the fumes. You gotta have
Yeah,
an
you don't
actual
want that,
barrier,
so-
not landscaping is not enough.
And then they
I
will
agree with
and landscaping and maintain it. They will provide the landscaping, the trees, and the maintenance of that.
Right.
And then they know what we want, and we'll come back.
Before you had the tables
I'll come to
and
Scottsdale
whatever
and-
in their requirement to supply and maintain. You had the tables in your initial
Tables and
draft.
landscaping are their responsibility all along the
supply and
back.
maintain.
Right.
Is that true? Yeah.
And can I just make one note? This is a note, that if anyone's ever gone to the Starbucks that's on the other side of McCaslin, have you?
Yes,
Okay.
I hate that.
That is a horrible patio ambiance.
Horrible.
The color of the concrete is horrible. The tables are all stacked on one side. It's empty over here. It's not a great experience.
think much people sit
You
out
hear
there
the cars, smell the cars, you can see
There
them.
aren't enough tables. The same with that, the one
In
on
other words,
Colton Ray.
the
They
opposite.
don't do patios well.
So that's why they're going to do the patios.
Right.
This development reminds me a lot of 28th Street in Boulder, or the 29th Street Mall along 28th Street. that
29th.
There's a lot, well, I'm thinking of
28th
the,
Street.
there's a,
Street Mall.
Yeah.
there's a
There's a Starbucks
stretch
across the
of,
street,
there's
yeah.
a stretch of mostly food.
By Nordstrom.
Yeah.
Yes, that-
Chipotle, Mod Greens, Mad
Yeah,
Greens.
we're
or
big
whatever.
fans of the smash burger, my
Mm-hmm.
kids are, and so but they have this outdoor seating on the west side facing 28th Street, 6 lanes of heavy traffic day and night, and there's not a lot of screening between the street and the patio, and it's mostly for overflow seating.
Right.
You would normally sit inside, but when it's full inside, you go out to the patio area. So
That's not what I want.
so I appreciate your comments. What I'm getting at is I do appreciate the idea of common tables, because along that stretch of shops on 28th Street, they do not have common tables, and it's kind of this mishmash, and they've got separation between the patios, and so I do think it would be a more inviting space with tables. I like the condition that you described, to leave it to the developer to come up with a plan that makes sense but achieves what we're trying to achieve.
Barrier buffers from the drive-through street. And
I'm going to
that-
just recommend that we do not use the word buffer. But,
Yeah, very good. Barrier?
I'm seriously, I don't
Well,
think we should ever use
barrier
that word
then?
again.
Is that okay?
Yeah, so.
Well, I said or and or
No, I know,
slash, you know.
I was partially being facetious, but actually not. Buffer is a very ambiguous term, so I just want to make sure that we don't use an ambiguous term.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. We got it. So barrier.
So read it back.
So here's what I have, sorry.
Before we go too far on that, there is a landscape railing around that whole patio area. So
I saw that.
I don't know if that's enough for you.
A
but before
landscape
we
what?
come- There's a patio railing
Yep.
that surrounds that entire patio. And it's, I don't know if it's
But
3
is
feet
it
high
per-
or what, but it's
Is
a
it
physical
permeable? Does
barrier
air go
that would-
through it?
Yeah. I mean, it's,
Well-
you want to see the detail, we can pull up
Sure.
the plans.
No, I don't know that we need, I mean, yes,
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
speaking out loud,
Yes.
thinking out loud. I don't know if we need to see it. The point is that we talked about beyond that, to some kind of a barrier, you know, and if that ends up being what it is, I don't think a hedgerow against those cars is very good.
Well, a railing is.
So this is the railing
isn't-
detail
Yeah,
here.
that's not noise or.
No, it's not noise, but it's a
fumes or
physical,
anything.
I don't know what you guys are trying to
That
get
we're
to,
looking
but
more
there is a
for
physical barrier.
landscaping.
And then there is additional landscaping.
Nice
We didn't get
stucco
into the
wall.
landscape plan.
So,
So you want it enclosed?
I don't know.
but one of the comments was not to, I mean, you want to be able to see the activity, the people gathering out there from McCaslin, right? So
Yeah,
There's a
3 or
trade-off
4
there.
feet at the most.
I think Kendra has some suggested language.
So there's the railing right here, and then there's landscaping shrubs proposed all along the outside of that. So just so we're clear on what's, thanks.
Yeah, I knew what you meant.
I don't want to reach across and into the window.
Can we
and
hear
grab
the
a coffee.
language? That's-
And I haven't addressed the tables because I'm still a little, I'm not clear on that. But for now, I have applicants shall add landscaping or other screening to the area near the western patio to minimize traffic noise from McCaslin Boulevard. An applicant or its tenant shall maintain such landscaping or other screening.
Well,
Not
we,
his
screening
tenants.
is so lightweight. I think that, you know, I like the word barrier better, but screening, that's what we got there.
Yeah,
I
but
don't know
then,
if that's
I
enough.
think you know what we mean, though, right? Right, okay.
This is being taped too, so you can play it a million times.
I don't like
When you
the
can't
applicant
sleep.
or its tenants. I think the applicant needs to maintain it or have a contract with a third party to maintain it, which is in fact the applicant doing it. And likewise the tables
And
with them.
what do we want to do about tables? Because I'm still not hearing consensus.
Why don't we
on that.
just add it in your applicant shall supply, applicant shall what?
I just have applicants shall add landscaping or other screening to the area near the western patio. These tables are going to need to be a different condition because that's actually on the patio. Because I'm assuming we want the landscape and screening not on the patio
Right, right.
itself. So we need, if we want to add a condition about tables, we need to add a condition about tables.
So it was just pointed out to us that we've got a fence, a metal fence, and we've got shrubs in the plan currently. And I'm not clear on what additional, I mean, reading your, or hearing your condition, proposed condition language, I'm not sure what additional we're asking for.
I'm not either, honestly.
Okay.
I'm trying to draft this condition
We
as
are.
we're hearing.
Okay, let's articulate this differently. Deborah just mentioned the idea of a partial stucco wall. You're using ephes. Anyway, you could do a partial ephes wall along that back patio edge.
Okay, I'm
Or
not gonna
something
support
similar, that might work. And in fact, you could then put flower boxes along that edge, and that would do a whole lot to supply the color and whatnot on this patio. obviously, EFS won't work because there's some head nods going on here, no. But a half wall that buffers between, I think that's what you meant.
Is
I
the
tend
half
to-
wall going to make that much of a difference between what we saw plus the shrubbery, the fence? I don't think it's going to make that much difference for noise or even fumes. I don't think it's going to make that much difference. But I think having a solid wall would take away from the quality.
ambiance?
I think it would too. It would just compartmentalize that patio and make it an awful experience. So
Oh, no, that's opposite of my feeling.
No.
I want it to feel like I'm in a
Yeah.
courtyard, not
Yeah.
in a.
I don't.
I don't
I
want to
think
be
what
sitting,
is
I don't
there
want to
is-
be reaching out to the, well, anyway, I think we go back to what you had said, that want some kind of a screening or wall, a barrier.
No, I
would
prefer
have to-
a wall,
I
though.
don't, I'm going to state this again, we're being so ambiguous here, I just don't think, unless, if you want to demand a wall, but we can't say,
No,
this condition is not, I don't think it's enforceable as written, and I think it's ambiguous. Even, I'm writing it trying to capture your intent, but I'm still recommending that you not impose it as a condition.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. I think what is proposed, once the shrubbery grows in, it's going to be adequate to.
Is this just going to be built, or are we going to actually going to come back and show us some, or are they going to come back and show us
No,
some?
this is the FTP.
No.
So we won't see progress along the way, and
Nope.
No. I mean, they'll apply for their building permit, and if it meets what's approved, then we'll issue the permit. So.
Hey, Steve, could you come back up? When I looked at those plantings along that separate the drive-through from the patio, all I came up with was grasses. I didn't come up with bushes or whatnot. Did I not look at it fully?
Yeah, let's
that
check
that
again.
band.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to figure out what the arrow is that points out there. I saw it earlier. I think it says 14 SRS, so we can go to the next page and see what the SRS stands for.
Yeah,
It's a switchgrass. You're right. So if you want to switch that out for shrubs, that's going to
yeah,
get more
grasses.
more
Guys
screening.
don't provide much of a barrier.
yeah, no, I think shrubs is better.
Right, and in winter you cut grasses
So if
down
you
to
want
the
it to be
ground.
like an evergreen, that's going to be
Um,
year-round or something like that, that's kind of the specificity I think we probably need to come up with a different condition.
I wouldn't specify a specific
What
type
you
of
could
shrub.
say is a four-seasoned landscaped, what did you call it, Kendra? A four-season landscaped
Barrier or?
barrier.
That's what,
A
I
force.
called it other screening. If all we're going to do is change this from grass to shrubs, we'll just refer to the specific sheet and say that this will be changed.
But you can't, because some of these are deciduous and some of them, can't we just say a four-season landscaped barrier or screen?
I think we're getting too complicated again. So I go back to what our expectation was, that there's some kind of a barrier or screen. Did you have that down? Or did you take out the
I
barrier?
have landscaping or other screening.
Oh, so you never said barrier, okay. So I would rather have it say less detail than more, but I want you to understand what we're looking for.
But
Not
that's
grass,
the problem.
switchgrass here that you're gonna cut down in the winter time, down to this high.
Right.
But some kind of a barrier between those cars that are going around there constantly
I
around
think they got it
Starbucks.
loud and clear. If you don't know,
Yeah,
if by now you don't know what you think,
Don't
I
have a
think
barrier.
I've gotten it 1,000 times over. I'm sure
Yeah.
you got it too. So let's.
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying not to put shrubs in there, just say screening and let them come up with what it is.
No, I
Because,
agree with you, Rita. That's what I'm saying. I think you. Yeah.
So could we have a corollary to that then that says the applicant will also supply tables and umbrellas behind all, on the patio behind all tenant locations?
Will install and maintain. Isn't that what you said you would do?
Yeah,
Right.
that's
Well,
correct.
Install and maintain the landscaping and the
How
tables.
about
on the
supply,
patio.
install, and
Yes,
maintain?
Supply, if we're talking about tables, yeah, we don't, okay. Applicant shall also supply tables and umbrellas on the western patio.
Okay, I'm going to make a comment about umbrellas. I love sitting under umbrellas, but umbrellas also blow away. And we get some winds here occasionally that might lift them all airborne. So that's a detail that I think we leave to
That's
them,
fine.
to the tenants. You know, if they want to put umbrellas out there, put some umbrellas out there. You know,
How
But you're
about
okay with tables?
patio tables
I
and
love
chairs?
tables. I love tables.
No, I mean,
but
it requires a condition that they put install the
yeah,
tables.
that's fine too. But I
Says
do
patio
not,
tables, no chairs.
I do not want to require umbrellas.
Bring your own exercise ball.
Bring your own chair.
Let's require
Wanna sit
drinks
out.
with umbrellas. You know.
Honestly, Clint, I think the idea of having umbrellas flying into McCaslin would be actually dangerous. So I say no umbrellas.
They won't go that way, they'll go to.
Well,
the
whichever
other
way
direction.
they go.
They'll
but-
go into the creek.
Well, even that's not okay either. So,
Okay.
So I had grout color on plan sheets shall match description. I think that was.
That's minor technical
Yeah.
changes,
Yeah,
isn't
yeah.
it?
Yeah, that's minor. I don't think we
I
need to
wouldn't
say.
put that down.
That's
yeah.
fine. I just wanted to make sure. And then the last one I had, there was a comment about incorporating more trees into the plan. Was that just a suggestion or?
No, that was, well, I don't know where you guys were, but for
Yeah.
me, it was all about the vision of McCaslin.
Oh,
And
gotcha,
what we
gotcha.
wanted that
Okay.
to look like. I'm
Yeah.
not imposing that
Okay.
onto this development because
Okay.
we want to look at it as the bigger picture.
And Marshall Road will be done eventually, you know,
Right. So
lining
they'll have
that.
its own trees,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Yeah, yeah.
That'll
That's
be
right.
part of the STC
Okay.
Yeah.
creation, completion of Marshall Road.
However, about landscaping, is there a portion of this property that we're deferring the landscaping on because we don't quite know yet what the requirement will be that we will impose, in which we could ask for cash in lieu so that when we do know this, we can then use that fund to install that landscaping?
I don't know what you're saying right now.
No, if we want cash in lieu, we need to ask, if we're doing a development agreement, that would be now.
Right, that's why I brought it up now. The point is, it's under landscaped. We want a master plan before we require more landscape. One, it's private property, you know, I don't know, we can go on.
Well, that's-
Yeah, but.
That's right of way,
But,
yeah.
but the point is, if we were gonna, you get the point. If we were gonna, if otherwise, they would be required to pay for it. Landscaping is substantial. An evergreen's $500. So I'm just saying that perhaps we don't want to take all that financial.
However, we don't have a vision yet.
Yeah, but can we therefore ask that cash be put aside to assist with the future landscaping?
But Marshall Road will be part of the STC and the TIF, so that isn't necessarily or won't be a requirement for them. The only question would be in the parking lot area or in front of the buildings, which I understand completely. The trees have grown up really high, the evergreen trees and the spruce trees in Marketplace to cover up, you know, some of
We
the
don't want that
signage
to
over
happen
there.
here.
So you have to be careful about where you're putting it. And I'd like to see more trees, but I don't know where they would go necessarily. So if you find another place where more trees, because I think about the existing trees, I saw that on your FDP planning, and those are kind of in front of Superior Liquor and along that Plaza Drive there. They're kind of pitiful trees, you know, that are existing there. They're little kind of, and it's hard to plant trees that actually end up looking good. So I think the short answer is, I don't think we need to require payment in lieu of for landscaping, but we should ask that if you can insert some more interesting landscape in places, please do so. And they said, I remember hearing annual and perennials, they're kind of hard to maintain in Colorado too. So I don't know what we're going to have for sure, but just something that looks living, you know, most of the year would be good. But I don't see it as a condition.
Okay, were we through our list of?
That was my
conditions?
list.
Okay.
Kendra, can you read the first one over?
Sure, I have condition C, applicant shall provide landscaping or other screening to the area near the western patio, it should be in the area near the western patio, to minimize traffic noise from McCaslin Boulevard, and applicant shall maintain such landscaping or other screening. And then condition D, applicant shall supply and maintain tables and chairs on the western patio.
Behind all tenants.
Well, the
And
western
lands-
The western patio is the
covers
Oh,
most
that.
nice.
western patio, okay.
And we talked about landscaping or trees on the patio too.
You want it on the patio now?
Yeah.
No, there are 2 trees planted there now, or 3 ornamentals, or 4.
4.
But that's already on there, unless we're adding something different.
Well, the discussion was that there would be pots of flowers interspersed between these, but
That's
maybe
fine.
that's a little specific.
Just a little bit.
I don't think so. I would rather always be safe than sorry, because frankly, boards change, as we know, and the language needs to stand for itself, and this language really does not. So I'm just cautioning. This language is very vague.
I completely agree that it's very vague, and I'm recommending that these not be conditions, but if this is what the board wishes, I'm certainly willing to draft them.
I would be fine with both of them being recommendations, because I don't think they go a lot farther than where we are. I think they want a successful patio environment, and I think they're hearing us loud and clear about the tables and chairs, so I could go either way on whether that's a condition or not.
I guess, having them in there, documents what your intention is, so. I mean, I understand what Kendra's saying, but.
It's a big difference between saying, we'd like you to maintain them, and saying you have to install them and maintain them as long as you have the building. And I think that's an important point. I'd like to go further too, but that's enough. You've got the picture. You guys, because, yeah.
Okay, so we're good with those 2 conditions? Okay, any further discussion? Anything? Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Town of Superior Resolution Number R-27, Series 2016, a resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Town of Superior approving a final development plan and special use permit for Superior Retail Lots 1 and 2, Block 1, Superior Town Center in case FTP-16-1, and also approving the associated development improvement agreement.
As amended.
As amended, yes, thank you. Slight detail, yes.
Motion by trustee Gutierrez, second by Mayor Pro Tem Williams. Any further discussion on the motion? Do we need a roll call vote?
Is it, no?
Okay, all those in favor? Passes unanimous. Congratulations, thank you. All right, any further business for tonight? Okay, we're adjourned.
Yeah, I set it up like that so that they would only have to do one. Hey, Dad, can I get a really hot? All right, I'll be back. I'll send it to Phyllis in a sec.
I told him I could.
There's Starbucks everywhere.